Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are having a good old-fashioned flat earth debate. My new friend QOP that we met on Discord the other day is coming over to show us why the earth is in fact flat. I am incredibly hungover, so please excuse my voice. Thanks for being here, guys. Do me a favor, share the stream like your life depends on it. And they're about to do an intro because this is a live stream, and I know a lot of people don't like intros, so if you're watching this as a VOD, then just skip the next 90 seconds. But if you're here watching live, then you know, that you don't really get a choice. You're going to have to watch it, and there's music. That means that you have to dance. So either dance, and I, will send you a cookie, or don't dance, and I'll send you Daniel Pratt.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hello everyone, welcome back. How you doing today? We're having a good old-fashioned flat earth debate with QOP. So let's get QOP on the screen so they can say hello. QOP, welcome to the channel, my friend. How are you doing?
So,
how you doing? You all good?
Pretty good.
How's Artemis 2 treating you? You loving it?
Oh, it's very impressive stuff. The video has come a long way since Apollo.
Oh, so just straight in with the it's fake, huh?
No, I think it's real. I'm just kidding. April Fools. April Fools.
Yeah, but it wasn't actually on April Fools, so.
We celebrated on April Fools together when they launched it.
Yeah, April Fools only goes till midday. After that, it's not April Fool's Day anymore.
Well,
that's the tradition.
I don't. Okay.
Right, so welcome to the channel. Do you want to let everyone know who you are, where they can find you on YouTube, and tell us how long you've been a flat earther and why?
I'm QOP. My YouTube channel is QIQOPIP. It's in the description below. I am Witsit's greatest flat earth enemy, and I've been a flat earther like 2 years, but I rise to the top pretty quickly because I was already like one of the top conspiracy theorists, and I thought I had everything figured out, but I kept seeing like this flat earth stuff, and I was like, that's the only conspiracy theory that I don't think is real. And then eventually I was just like, I'm just gonna look into it just to see what they're talking about. And yeah, and I slowly went down that rabbit hole.
Well, whoopsie, that was silly. Let's see if we can drag you back out that hole kicking and screaming. So, how long have you been a flat earther?
Like 2 years, 2.5 years.
Right, so relatively new, right? So you don't like Witsit then?
No, I came into Discord because from his channel, so I'm like into the ether and all the same stuff as the ether cause guys, but I just realized that they're all like controlled up, like leaders of a community to steer it in the wrong path, and
so
I exposed
Witsit
that.
and crew you think are paid by somebody to discredit flat Earth?
Well, not so much. Well, slowly. So like the celestial theodolite thing that Ether Cause recently did, I kind of exposed that, and I put that to an end. It seems they haven't done a presentation on celestial theodolite since the last two times, which I talked to Alan during both of those. And I also have a video out. You can check it out on my channel, where I expose how they're basically just doing the same thing the globe does, but like almost a little bit worse because the globe kind of has like a has all the like how they want what they want to say with refraction figured out, and they claim they know where the geometric horizon is and and
Yeah, because of facts
all
and
that kind of
evidence and
stuff.
experiments and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but the celestial theodolite was like it literally switched from the star should include earlier for flat Earth to later, so they did like a full 180, so it kind of debunked itself, honestly.
Well, yeah, by being flat Earth, it really did debunk itself, most definitely. Well, I thank you very, very much for coming, guy. I really do appreciate it. Sorry that your Discord server is full of people that don't seem to want to share the flat Earth word, but you have to have a shitty app for $3.99 for that, I guess. Do you know how much Witsit hates me?
Probably more than he hates me.
Yeah, you know how he always says that if anyone spoke to him in real life the way they do online, he'd break their jaw. Well, when I met him, I spoke to him that way, and my jaw remained firmly unbroken.
Yeah, so I'm sitting at that table. He didn't seem like he was gonna fight you.
No, no, he seemed very upset and basically begged me to go away and leave him alone.
I like that picture.
Yeah, oh, the very good memes out of that, most definitely. Thank you everyone for joining. Hello everyone, Prof. Phil Bell, hope you're doing as well as possible, matey. Real Kiffy Jones, Abarak, Power to the People, Rachbot, Steve's Creepy Fan, Stanley, all you wonderful people. Hello there, Clive Wells. Glad that you're here. Admiral Snappy Turple, Borg Emporia, Illusion, all you awesome people. Alison Aviation for $2 says, only thing that matters, Q-Op, do you have a flat Earth map?
I actually just got a flat Earth map. It's like the David Rumsey one. It's pretty sick. But I'm not like sold on like a map. I don't really care about maps. It's not something I'm ever gonna be able to like, verify myself. So I'm never gonna be like,
Why not? You could get a
you know,
boat and check.
well, you can only the most we could do is like check what the GPS says the distance is. I mean, use it to travel and then figure out if we get to a
Yeah.
landmass
Yeah,
and
you literally go and just test
the
the
amount
map.
of
That's the best way to do it, which people do all the time. It's called traveling. All right, anyway, so I thought we could give you, say, 10 minutes to give us your best flat Earth evidence, and then I'll give you just a couple of pieces of globe Earth evidence, which I think are undisputable and unarguable. But I'll let you go first. So you can have the mic. 10 minutes. Tell us your best bits of evidence of why the Earth is flat.
Well, so my favorite thing that kind of I'm not as I don't have an expertise in this subject as much as I want to, but eventually I will because it's something I'm really interested in. I'm probably going to set up like one of these experiments that they did. So most people know about the Michelson-Morley experiment, but that was actually very late stage interferometry experiment and so I know kind of like some of the rough details, but not all the data and all the geometries of the different the different I forget what's called the wave phenomena that they I forget what they call it. So I think interferometry is a good proof that the Earth isn't moving. And then as far as like Earth being measured flat, they don't really measure curvature. They just cherry pick optics for whenever it gets close to their radius value, and then they claim that that's somehow verified that because on average like things appear to disappear bottom up where the radius value would predict on a sphere. That's pretty much your guys' claim that of how you measure it, and that's not really a measurement because it's like an optical phenomena that you guys agree also changes. So pretty much the fact that you guys don't measure curvature with optics and you misunderstand optics, that's my proof of the Earth being flat. And then sea level being the benchmark for how you get elevation around the world. So yeah.
Is that it?
Well, I mean, as far as like proving the flat Earth, the flat Earth is like, we're checking for the 8 inches per mile squared. So I haven't set up like an actual. So what I want to do, if I ever get around to it and I get enough money, you have to set up like an actual like rigid straight line that is straight, and then you have to check if like sea level is actually convexing away from that, diverging. But as far as debunks to the globe model, like the heliocentric and the globe model, I mean the geocentric has like less problems, but there's most of the topics that we could discuss for a long time are debunks on the globe. Um, the heliocentric model itself.
I mean, we use the barycentric model, but you can debunk an old model if you like. That's fine.
Which one did you call? What'd you say?
Barycentric. That's the model that we use.
What'd you say? Flat Earth centric?
Barycentric.
Why do I keep not hearing you when you say that word?
Barycentric.
Oh, barycentric. Oh,
Yes.
okay. That's like the gravitational center.
Yeah, we ordered the barycenter of the solar system. Or there's a dude named
Okay.
Barry at the middle. It's one of the two. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like the center of it's not the exact center of the sun because there's like
Correct.
an orbital center.
Clive Wells went to school with barycentric. Right. So let me just see if I missed anything. So the Muggs and Morley experiment and interferometry, even though you admitted you don't understand those things, there being no 8-inch per mile squared drop, and how we just guess at refraction. And then what else did you say? That was your evidence. So we misunderstand optics. There's quite a few actually. Well, that was it. No, not quite a few. So basically those. So is that your evidence over?
Well, because that's pretty much the whole thing, right? Flat earthers don't trust when you go to space and show the blue marble. Like, that new picture is obviously like,
Even though you've
we
been
already found
telling
like
us to do that
like
for like years. Why don't you go back to the moon and take pictures? So we did that, and it's just all fake CGI.
I never really made the claim that you guys should go back as if like you ever went to begin with. So
Well, yeah, flat earthers, and I'm sure you as well, have been asking us for years. Well, if you went to the moon once, why can't you do it again and just take photos? So they're doing
I actually
that.
hate that argument.
Well,
Yeah, I
most
hear
flat earthers use
I
that.
hear flat earthers say that a lot. Like, why don't you guys go back? And it's like they're obviously gonna fake going back. So why would you even say that? It's kind of stupid.
So basically, during this debate, anytime I bring up anything from Artemis 2, you're just going to say, well, it's fake.
I'll just say April Fools.
Even though it wasn't done on April Fool's, it was done after April Fool's had finished.
So you're saying what are you saying that April Fools ends like in the
Yeah,
afternoon?
that's the tradition. April Fool's is up until midday. After that, you can't do the pranks. It's only until midday.
Maybe that's someone's tradition. I'm not gonna fact
No,
check that.
that is the April Fool's tradition. That's the whole thing. It's
Okay.
only until midday. That's
Well,
when
then-
the pranks are supposed to stop.
Then you guys did it during Passover and all these Christian esoteric holidays in the
Or
same
maybe they
weekend.
did it in an appropriate launch window with the correct weather conditions. Maybe that.
No, I think it's all super esoteric. Like Artemis is the sister of Apollo, and
Yeah, who
it's interesting
cares?
that they
It means nothing.
cares. They obviously care if they're gonna do it
They've
like
named them these
on
things
this.
because they're cool. It doesn't mean anything.
I mean,
So,
I
just
just
to
took
be
a clip
clear,
of that.
if I bring
the
up
bla-
anything to do with Artemis at all, you're just going to say it's fake, right?
Well, pretty much, I have reasons. Though.
Well, you don't. You have delusions, frankly. But anyway, right. So I'll just go through a couple of bits of evidence for clearly why the Earth is a globe. Bear with me one sec. Right. So this. Here we go. Right, so you keep going on about, the 8 inches per mile squared, where is that, blah, blah, blah. This dude literally measured it, Jesse Kwazolski, over a lake of about a mile. Used his professional surveying equipment and his qualifications of being someone literally told how to measure the ground. He went over to water, which is definitely level, but level's not flat. And he set up 2 theodolites either side, did a bunch of measurements over like a whole day, and then recorded the measurements. And when you actually look at what the recordings of the measurements are and do the calculations, without even using it as like a prerequisite or like some at the beginning, the results came out to the fact that there was 8 inches per mile squared of drop over the mile that he did the measurements. So professional surveyor actually doing the measurements that you guys say that have never been done and don't exist. Surveyors are professionals. They understand optics. It's literally their job. So the claim of they misunderstand optics really doesn't work with these guys, because that's what they're qualified in. And you need to be able to replace what they have that works, and is the reason I'm wearing glasses that work. So here we go, just to show again all the results accumulate in 8 inches per mile squared. Very simple. So the claim of there is no measurements of 8 inches per mile squared drop is completely false. Here it is done by a professional surveyor, Jesse Kozolski. You can find him on YouTube. You can contact him on X. He's very likely to respond. Next one is very, very simple. We make a prediction that the Earth spins. Don't need to use interferometry. Just use something physical like a pendulum. You stick it above the Earth on a pivot point. It will maintain its oscillation plane. The plane that it's swinging in will stay exactly the same, while the Earth will rotate independently underneath it, and then you can measure that drift over time. This guy had done the same experiment that I did in my physics degree, made his own pendulum, made a prediction of how much it would swing, let it off swing in. Here he is doing the release. And as it swings back and forward, it goes through this little ink pad and marks the path, and over time that path is drifting because he's in the northern hemisphere, so it goes clockwise. So after about 45 minutes, the oscillation became too small, couldn't really continue with it swinging backwards and forwards. It would start to introduce a figure 8. So they just measure the angle that's been made, 7.89, and they do some calculations, plug in Foucault's sine law, and calculate their latitude on Earth. Now this is wonderful because wherever you do it, this experiment on Earth, you will, with the results that you get, calculate your latitude on the planet, which is a direct prediction and expectation of a rotating globe. If the Earth is a rotating globe at the speed we say it is, at the size we say it is, we would expect that the latitude that you do this experiment on would correlate to the drift that it has. And it does every single time. This experiment's done hundreds of times a year all over the world. And it works. And unless you've done it yourself to debunk it, to say that it hasn't worked, then there is no real counter argument from this, because everything else is just nonsense and dismissing blatant evidence in front of your face. There is no electromagnetic interference. There's no spinning 15 degree per hour, which this isn't really that, because it does it relative to latitude. There's nothing that would make this, other than the physical reference frames being different to each other, nothing would make this happen. And that's it. It's just a direct example of Coriolis. I've heard a bunch of silly responses to this, like, oh, Machian principle. Well, that's just like a thought experiment about the entire universe imparting Coriolis forces with no evidence or anything behind it, no maths, no numbers, no predictions, no model. So the Machian principle aether thing doesn't work in any way, shape or form, because there's nothing that would make the different latitudes have the different amount of rotation like that if the entire universe was rotating as one. So there we go. Both Earth's curve from Jesse Kozolski, 8 inches per mile squared drop over 1 mile, exactly what we predict. And the rotation of the Earth. The Earth is a globe, and the Earth rotates. One thing you said was sea level being the thing. Yeah, well, level doesn't. You really have to understand that level isn't flat, and the sea level just means a certain distance from the center of the Earth that is average all over the world. That's it. Okay, so there we go. You didn't really give any evidence that the Earth is flat. You do realize that. You said Michelson-Morley, but you didn't really explain how the Michelson-Morley experiment shows that the Earth is flat. Could you elaborate on that for me?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to intro the idea that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to debate it. I wasn't gonna say all my arguments at once. I like kind of surprising people sometimes to see how they react. But as far, you want me to address the things you said a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, yeah. First of all, I'd like you to expand on the MMX thing a little bit. But yeah. Right. So before I do that, from this point, I'm going to put my rule in for. So my rule is very simple. I will be pleasant. I will be polite. I will not interrupt. I won't get angry, as long as you do the same thing. At this point forward, I will allow you to decide the tone of this conversation. I have a reputation for shouting at people, over talking people, interrupting people, but that's only when they do it to me first and consistently. I then just decide there's no point in being nice. So from this point on, as long as you are decent to me, I will be 100% decent to you. I do my best to not interrupt. So hopefully you do the same and we can have a decent conversation, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, could you just expand on how the MMX shows the Earth is flat, please?
Well, so the you agree that they weren't testing to see if the ether existed within the Michelson-Morley?
No, that was exactly what it was. It was to test if there was the ether wind. It was to test if when the Earth moved through the aether, they would detect a wind. That's why it's Earth's movement relative to the luminescent ether. That's the title of the paper. And the entire talk by the authors, Michelson and Morley, explain how they were testing for the aether wind, a fringe shift that would be caused by light traveling through this wind perpendicular or horizontal to the Earth's travel through the aether wind. It would change the way that light comes into the apparatus they had. So yes, they were absolutely testing to see if the aether was a thing.
No, they were testing to see if they could detect Earth's motion through the luminiferous ether, and the whole paper has baked into it the assumption that the ether exists. There was no part of it that said that we're testing to see if it exists or not. Even in the last sentence, it says they because they got a no result for detecting Earth's motion through the ether. So in the last sentence, in the last paragraph, they're talking about how the ether might be acting, and it's still assumed to exist. Like until it's assumed to exist until Einstein came in with the space-time replacement.
Entirely incorrect. I can tell you haven't actually read the paper, with all due respect. The entire paper is literally a test of if there is movement relative to the aether. Yes, they assumed that the aether existed for the experiment because that's how you do an experiment. You make an assumption that something's real and then test that. But what they found was not the thing they would expect if they were traveling through an aether. They found the opposite. The only fringe shift that they had was within the margin of error of the equipment they were using, which basically is zero because it couldn't tell, and it's not accurate enough for what it picked up. That could have been zero. It could have been the 0.2 that it picked up, but it did not pick up the fringe shift of the light at the amount they would have expected if there was an aether. And they even say in the paper, although the Earth is rotating around the sun several times, that's an assumption they make as well. They make two assumptions: the Earth's rotating around the sun, orbiting around the sun, and that the aether is real. The conclusion of it was, yes, the Earth is orbiting around the sun, but we didn't pick up any of the things we would expect if Earth was traveling through an aether. So they never said that it doesn't move. They said that it doesn't move through an aether, which led them to the conclusion that the aether was probably not real. Because they basically said that it means that there's kind of two options. One, that the aether doesn't exist, or that the aether travels with the Earth, which is absurd. That's what they said in the paper.
So they had the assumption that the Earth was a ball and it was moving, and that the ether existed at this time. Yeah. So there was no the ether was the mechanism that they thought they had two explanations for how the ether was working during that time period before Einstein came in, and they invented all the physics of photons and space-time and everything. But before Einstein came in, the two theories were regarding the ether were the emission theory and the undulatory theory. Undulatory is like the wave ether explanation, where the ether is like literally moving, like light is a wave in the ether, and then emission theory is like it's light is being emitted as like tiny particles, which Newton called corpuscles. corpuscles. And so that those were the two theories that they were testing as far as the ether throughout the other like before Michelson Morley is pretty late stage, but um, before that they were just pretty much testing the ether. It wasn't until like Michelson Morley where they like were trying to test the Earth's motion with the interferometry. Before that, it was just testing the ether basically.
Yeah, it was
Um,
testing Earth's motion
so
through the aether, yes, and they found
yeah,
none. And they still agreed that the Earth moved. They never once said this means that the Earth doesn't move. They just basically, it meant that there was no movement relative to an aether. And they were only talking about the theory of, at this point, no one else was talking about any other theory apart from the theory that the aether acted as a medium that light as a wave traveled through. That was the theory of aether that was around at the time. There wasn't another theory around at the time, and that was what the MMX tested. And it disproved, it failed to back up the hypothesis of Earth moves through an aether. But the paper, the authors literally said, although the Earth is orbiting the sun, that was their conclusion. So if you are going with this whole what Whitsitt knows fuck all about, and most flat earthers really don't understand what the MMX was trying to do and why it in no way, shape, or form showed the Earth was stationary, and even less so does it show it was flat. Because they had to have the apparatus at two different directions, and that was to do with the Earth's shape and the motion that it was traveling through the aether. So they wouldn't have done the experiment the way that they did if the Earth was flat, and it also didn't conclude that the Earth was stationary. What you will find, Kjop, is that no mainstream scientists in the world agree with you at all, in the slightest.
I agree with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. Actually, I like being the only one that knows things. But so they're definitely, I mean, after Michelson Morley, they obviously, so Einstein came up with space-time to replace the ether, and he explained away this null result of measuring Earth's motion through the ether by claiming, length was contracting and time was dilating, and that's like uh, that's a cause from the space-time, like
Yeah,
space and time basically vortexing and
not
yeah.
vortexing, no,
So
it's just a consequence of things traveling close to the speed of light and what would happen to them. And we know that length contraction and time dilation is a thing because we have to correct for it in our GPS satellites. It's literally baked into the direction calculations and vector calculations of any GPS satellite to us that the fact that they're traveling so much faster, there's time dilation and length contraction calculations baked into GPS.
yeah, no, I know they make corrections. I think they're so as far as like so everything you said before, right, about Jesse measuring at times, the
Jesse
8 inches
Kozlowski,
per
yeah.
mile square drop, um, the all the things you listed before. I actually like the Foucault's pendulum, the mathematical. I wouldn't call them predictions or like postdictions of
There's no such thing as a
relativity and
post-diction. That is not. You got that from Whitsitt. Whitsitt doesn't know what a post-diction is. A
what?
post-diction is something has happened and then you're explaining it after the fact. That's it.
Yeah, I didn't get. I mean, I heard some of these things from Witsit before, but I'm not.
Post-diction was
Yeah,
directly
so
from
these are.
Whitsitt about 2 years ago, and it does not mean what you think it means. It is a prediction because it is using a previous pattern to guess what is going to happen next. That is literally a prediction. You use data you have to make a guess as to what is going to happen. That's the definition of a prediction. Would you like me to read to you the
That's
definition of a
no, no.
post-diction?
No, I understand. So it's a. I believe it's a post-diction because I believe they already understood the ether and what happens at different altitudes with
That's not
atomic
what post-diction
clocks
means, my
and all
friend.
these things. What?
That's not what post-diction means.
That so post is like after the fact. So it's not a prediction. They post you know post dicted or like
Right.
told this theory, this math based on things they already knew. It's after the fact of already knowing it. They
No, it's
created
not
this
not
theory.
after the fact of knowing it. It's the act of explaining an event literally after an event has happened. That's nothing to do with what's
Yeah,
going
it's
to happen in the future. You're when you're talking about post-diction, you are explicitly talking about the past, but we are not. We are saying, based on our knowledge of the past, we think in the future this is going to happen, and that is a prediction, not a post-diction.
I understand
you're
that
using the word
I know.
post-diction incorrectly.
I'm not arguing with that. You're using the word. I'm not arguing that you're using the wrong word. You
No,
believe that history, as we're told.
You're using
So
post-diction incorrectly. That's not what the word means.
No.
You cannot use post-diction to talk about the future. It only talks about the past.
I think that in the past they had atomic clocks. They understood the ether completely. They understood at different altitudes and at different velocities, the atomic clock would vibrate differently, and that's why I think it's a post-diction Einstein's relativity correction.
Okay, number one, no. You cannot. You keep saying you think it's a post-diction, but post-diction cannot relate to things in the future. As soon as you say this is going to happen next, it becomes a prediction. Post-diction is literally just explaining about events that have happened previously, not about in the future. And also, you just said they had atomic clocks in the past. Like, how far in the past?
I don't think anything is really new that they've invented in the last,
Well,
500
specifically,
years.
give me a date. When did they invent the atomic clock?
I don't know specifically. I'm just saying, like, I believe all these things already existed and were understood.
Based on that, what is that belief based on?
There's all kinds of, artifacts that are extremely unexplainable with the whole,
Like
chisel
what?
and horse and buggy history we're
what?
given. There's the Prague clock, the Antikythera mechanism,
The Antikythera mechanism
pyramids.
makes perfect sense, and it's nothing to do with the Earth being flat. It's just a measurement, a clockwork mechanism, basically to do with the stars. What did you say before that? The what tower?
Prague clock, Antikythera mechanism.
So why couldn't they have made them? They had accurate and precise tools in the past.
Yeah, no, I just don't think they were doing it by hand. I think they had technology.
They had tools, just like us, but not electric tools like us. They had hammer, chisel, tweezers, pincers, magnifying glasses, and a lot more time. When you look at things in the past that look amazing now, you have to understand that they took sometimes centuries to make. That's why they look so good, is because probably thousands of slaves over hundreds of years died making it. Whereas now we can make something that looks fucking fantastic in 20 minutes with a 3D printer. It's just the argument of, well, they had some technology in the past, therefore all technology existed in the past, is a logical fallacy in the extreme. It's Adam's.
No, I'm not saying something. I'm not saying. I mean, artifacts are artifacts of like a civilization. I think was covered in old world tech. So I think there's just some things that they didn't clean up correctly.
But none of this is even close to being an atomic clock. What evidence do you have that there was an atomic clock in the past?
Yeah, there's no evidence of atomic clocks. I'm just saying I believe that they already understood these things.
But they couldn't have, because atomic clocks weren't invented until 1949.
Well, I mean, if your proof of things is your belief in history, and your belief is history is because they said it, I mean,
no, it's because it was written down and recorded when these things happened.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you can fake things you write down.
Have you got any evidence
like Harry
they
Potter
didn't make it in 1949?
I mean, that's hard evidence to that. There's reasons I don't believe history, and it's not because of specific evidence I found on what you're asking.
So the answer
but
is
this
no.
is kind of like
just to be clear, do you have
I mean,
evidence that it existed before 1949? I want a yes or no at that, my friend.
No.
Right, so you've no evidence, so we can dismiss the claim, because claims made without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So we can dismiss your claim that they had it beforehand, so therefore they didn't have it beforehand. Simple. And then, well, you said they don't measure it, and I've shown they measure it, and you said the Earth's move is stationary because of Michelson and Morley experiment, even though the Michelson and Morley experiment didn't explain that, and I showed you evidence that the Earth rotates on its own axis.
Well,
so what do you think about the pendulum evidence?
Well, as far as the Michelson-Morley, though, like, do you agree that the explanation for why they got the no result requires what Einstein came up with like 50 or 80 years after the fact?
Einstein did explain it, yeah. And here's the thing: space-time might not be right. Okay, we might in the future come up with a better thing that much better explains it than space-time. But right now, space-time is the thing that explains it the most and is verified via experimentation, like the Eddington experiment of 1919. And you make a prediction, test that prediction equal what you predicted, therefore you don't dismiss the hypothesis, you just go with that as the thing right now that we're going with. And there's been no evidence that space-time is not a thing, whereas there's plenty of evidence of the warping of whatever that is in the universe.
Well, that's circular to claim that there's evidence of the warping because of what we experience as far as like atomic clocks and Foucault's pendulums and stuff.
How is that circular? It's direct empirical evidence of the claim.
No, like showing a space-time field, like with some space-time ferrocell would be, evidence of us experiencing space-time.
Space-time ferrocell. What's a space-time ferrocell?
Well, there isn't one. I have a ferrocell to show a magnetic field. I could show the geometry of the vortex of the magnetic field that Einstein stole for space-time.
Sorry, so you basically something that detects the warping of space-time. The way you can see that space-time is warped. Yeah, we use light for that and massive stars in the galaxy. It's just a little bit bigger than a ferrocell you can hold in your hand because gravity is not the magnetic field. They're different things. So we measure it with different things. So technically, the Eddington experiment was a humongous gravitational ferrocell, even though that makes no sense. But yeah, that's what the Eddington experiment was. We used a star as the thing that was warping it, and we instead of just some little magnetic beads and stuff.
Well, the ferrofluid is like microscopic beads, but as far as like so what I was saying was before about Einstein. So the reason I think it's a post-diction, this whole relativity.
Again, post-diction only refers to things in the past. So if it talks about in the future,
Einstein's theories refer to the results of the Michelson-Morley. Like he had to explain away.
Yeah, but then they predict things in the future, right?
The laser path was not as separated as they predicted, right? So to explain that, he said that length was contracting, so literally space is like contracting, so the lasers are now not as spread out as they thought they should be. And then also he said time is dilating, and that's why the time is off as far as like the speed of like what their prediction was with the speed of light. So that is post-diction to the Michelson-Morley experiment. He's just giving a post-dictive like theory. He's not giving a predictive theory on like what should happen during Michelson-Morley. He didn't even exist. He was like a baby when Michelson-Morley happened, and he didn't do any tests on space-time. He didn't set up a different interferometry experiment to test what his new theories. He just gave explanations for what already existed.
Okay, yeah, but then what he did was made predictions about what can happen in the future. Yes, he used data in the past because that's what you do. But you're missing what a post-diction is. You keep saying that it was just a post-diction, but Einstein makes predictions of what will happen in certain scenarios.
Yeah, As
soon as you are talking about the future in any way, shape, or form, it is a prediction. A post-diction is specifically interpreting past that have happened in the events that have happened in the past. As soon as you go, and Einstein will say, well, based on all this knowledge that I've got, I think that if a black hole of this size formed, then things like this would happen. That's a prediction because it's guessing about something that would happen in the future.
I completely understand that. The same way so you would agree it's a post-diction after Michelson-Morley to explain those results with his theories, right?
Yeah, you're interpreting the past. So yes, he had a post-diction. Hold on, let me answer. Yes, Einstein had a post-diction about Michelson-Morley experiment. Absolutely. He used his new theory of relativity to make a post-diction about what happened to Michelson-Morley. Correct. However, in the future, he then made predictions about other things.
I know. So I told you I don't have evidence of like what I believe as far as like atomic clocks existing, as far as like them having already noticed aberration and lensing effects in the celestial sphere. I'm saying that I believe history is a lie, and they gave Einstein secret information on mathematically what will happen to the atomic clock before they do the test. That's why I'm saying it's a post-diction. I understand that if we just grant history, it would be a prediction if they hadn't used an atomic clock before and gone at higher and higher altitudes to see the atomic clock vibrating at different rates. I don't believe that was the first time they knew about that stuff, and that's why I call it a post-diction.
But you're using the word post-diction wrong, because as soon as he talks about the future, as soon as Einstein says, well, based on there being space-time, this will happen, that is now a prediction, not a post-diction, because it's talking about something that hasn't happened yet. So you're just using the word post-diction wrong and then backing up that you're using it wrong. Please stop saying post-diction, because you do not know what that word means.
I believe they already took atomic clocks up at higher and higher altitudes, so he could work math.
Well, you've got no evidence of that, though, so we've dismissed that.
I said I didn't, but I still believe it's a post-diction.
But it's not a post-diction, because he's talking about things in the future. Even if he says, well, it's going to happen again if we do it, that is still a prediction, because it's about something in the future. So if at any time he says an atomic clock will do this, that is now a prediction, regardless of whether he's already seen it. So please stop using the word post-diction, because you're using it wrong, because you heard Whitsitt say it and use it wrong. Jesus.
Okay. I don't know how many times I can explain that I don't believe that he was predicting anything. I think he already knew the stuff. So whether or not he does make
predictions by saying it will happen. As if there is atomic clock experiments that could happen in the future, and Einstein said an atomic clock in the future will do this. Therefore, it's a prediction. Even if he's already got the knowledge, doesn't stop guessing about things in the future by saying it will happen, even though he knows it's going to happen because it's already happened. That's still a prediction about the future based on previous knowledge, not a post-diction. As soon as you're talking about the future, it is no longer a post-diction.
Well, it applies to the future because it keeps happening. It's like a consistent thing that
therefore
we can measure.
Therefore, it's a prediction, not a post-diction if it's in the future. That's the definition. Can't be a post-diction if it's talking about the future. Okay? Please stop using that word wrong. I don't want to have to keep going around in circles on this, but you're using the word wrong, so just stop it. Right. Do you want to talk about the pendulum and how you can't explain that if the Earth is flat and stationary, even with an aether?
Well, we never got to so as far as, like you said, I'd never read Michelson-Morley, but I mean, I've read it and I have it here, and it's just like I don't know why Globers say that the Michelson-Morley debunked the ether. There's nowhere in the Michelson-Morley that says anything.
It literally does say that.
They didn't get the
results they would expect if the aether was there. That's what they had a specific range that they would get if the aether existed. They didn't get that. Therefore, there was no confirmation of the hypothesis of the aether. So it failed to prove the aether. It disproved it.
Okay, so you believe the Earth's a globe. So within the Michelson-Morley, within the data from the Michelson-Morley experiment, they didn't measure Earth going through the ether. So you assume the ether must just be a wrong theory, and that's why the wave pattern was as it was measured. But that's just your belief. So with their belief was that the ether existed and the globe was moving. So in no place did they have within the Michelson-Morley paper do they have a replacement theory for entirely different physics in a different field and just scrapping the ether altogether. They don't even bring that up. Literally the last sentence. This is the last sentence. It's kind of a long sentence, so I won't even read the whole sentence. The end of this last sentence says, not merely the motion of the solar system with reference to the stars, but with the reference to the luminiferous ether itself. The last second to last word is luminiferous ether, because they're giving different theories on what could be happening, why they got this result. So it's all within the ether existing still.
Yeah, but there's no maths or anything to back that up. The experiment was very simple. If the aether is a thing, then we will get X. Do the experiment. Oh, we got way less than X. Therefore, we were wrong about there being an aether. That's what the paper is.
How do you know? Okay, so that's your conclusion. That's not.
No, it's their conclusion.
Their conclusion is
the conclusion, like the experiment was, if the aether is real, we will get X. They didn't get X.
Not...
Therefore, the aether wasn't real. It's baked into the premise of the experiment.
No, there is not. It's not. No, they're trying to measure the Earth's motion relative to it. They're not trying to find out
that's
that
not
either.
What they're measuring. They're measuring.
They're trying to get a positive. They're trying to get a positive result from measuring the Earth's motion this way. They're not giving.
What they're measuring, Q-op, is a fringe shift in light, where if the aether existed and the apparatus is orientated this way, you'll get this, and if it's orientated this way, you'll get this. Whenever they did the experiment, and they did the experiment multiple times, they came up with a lot less than X. They had a specific data point that they would get if the aether existed. But what it did was show that at least in that form, hold on, what it showed was at least in the form that they hypothesized, the aether didn't match the experimental results. And to quote Richard Feynman, if it doesn't match experimentation, it is wrong.
Okay, it doesn't say any. These are all your beliefs on like.
No, it's their conclusion, not my beliefs. It's their conclusion.
No, it's not. It's not. It's Einstein's conclusion.
No, they concluded that it did not match their predictions of an aether.
No, it doesn't predict. They didn't match their predictions for the Earth moving through the ether.
Exactly, showing that the aether didn't exist in the form that they thought it.
Or that the Earth's not moving.
No, it wasn't a measurement. It wasn't a test of Earth moving. They knew Earth was moving. It was a test of Earth relative to an aether. They did not find what they would say. They knew Earth was moving, and nowhere in the paper does it say Earth doesn't move. But what it does say is we did not get the expected thing that we would get if it was moving through an aether. That's it. That's the paper.
They don't frame it like that. They don't frame it like that.
Q-up, you're wrong. Every scientist in the world says you're wrong and I'm right. Right,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
All of the smart people, all of the people that understand physics, all of the people that understand mathematics, they all agree with me. Flat earthers agree with you. And most flat earthers can't calculate the internal angles of an equilateral triangle. Can you? Do you know what the internal angles of an equilateral triangle
180, are? 180, 180.
So if I've got a triangle of sides 1, 1, and 1, what would each of the internal angles measure to?
180. I'm just guessing. I don't do math, honestly. Okay, this is such a random. This is not the same. It's just a random math question.
Yeah, it's kind of testing a principle that you've just shown to be very true. Q-up, the flat earthers. The thing is, most of that paper is math, right? You said you read the paper, but you've just told me you don't do math. That paper is full of math.
Okay, so there is nothing in the paper that says anything about testing to see if the ether exists. There's like, you can't quote that. You can't quote them saying that the ether now we figured out doesn't exist. That isn't in the paper. It's baked into the entire paper that the ether exists.
And yeah, and if the ether exists, then we would expect this. Right? They're saying that the aether, we're moving through the aether, which means that we are going to get this result. That's what they were testing. They were trying to test the result of Earth moving through the aether. And they're saying in the paper, the point of the experiment was to test because they calculated and predicted that they would get a certain value. Then they did the experiment and they got way, 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 way less than that value within the equipment's margin of error, or whatever the equivalent of margin of error was back then. They did not get what they would have expected based on there being an aether. It falsified the hypothesis. If you're doing the scientific method, the hypothesis is that Earth is moving through an aether. It falsified that hypothesis, yet they still say, and you can find this quote in that paper, although the Earth is rotating, or the Earth is orbiting around the sun. They say those words. But they didn't get what they would expect if it was moving through an aether.
I agree that they believe the Earth was moving and that the ether existed. The paper doesn't say anything about disproving the Earth moving or the ether existing.
But that was the point of it. It was to test if the Earth was moving through an ether.
No, it was just So it was to test to see if if they could detect the Earth moving through the ether with interferometry, and they didn't get the result they assumed, so you're just throwing away the ether, and because you're assuming that that must be the problem in
Well,
their
they
prediction.
later on figured
But
out that you don't need the aether, and you can explain it with space-time, and it has none of the problems that aether has. That experiment, right? That experiment on its own didn't completely throw out the idea of aether. They were still trying to use aether for many years after that, until Einstein came along.
exactly, that proves my
Until
point.
Einstein,
You just
hold
proved
on,
my
hold
point
on,
that
hold
the
on, hold on,
ether
hold on,
was
hold
not
on, hold
debunked.
on, hold
They didn't
on,
even.
hold on. Let
You
me
just proved
finish.
my.
Hold on, let
You
me
proved my
finish
point.
let me finish what I'm saying. Hold on,
You're gonna
right?
finish proving my
Let
point.
me finish what I'm saying, please. Thank you. Right. So yes, they were still using it, and then Einstein came along and went, well, actually, maybe we don't need aether because light is clearly consistent in all reference frames. All motion is relative. And then we realized, oh, you're right. So that's what the paper was saying. So they didn't get what they would expect, and then they tried to still use aether and explain it, but couldn't until Einstein turned up and went, well, actually, we don't really need aether. It's much better explained like this. So at that point, aether was discarded.
Yeah, I agree. So it's like post-diction discardation of the theory.
And they discovered a new theory that explained things a lot better and didn't need an aether. So with that experiment, and then with the Muggs and Gale experiment, and then with experiments around relativity that they did that turned out to actually confirm the hypothesis of relativity, it all showed us that aether was not necessary for physics because it doesn't exist.
Okay, but so if if the ether doesn't exist, but their predictions on Michelson-Morley were based on how they thought the ether to be working, then how is that proof of how space-time is working if space-time just came in and looked at the results and explained that this new theory explained the results, which were off for what they predicted with the ether? Like, how could
Well, relativity
that,
doesn't just explain that. Relativity explains everything, including that.
okay, but if there's a completely different field, and whole different mechanism for physics, then it makes no sense to claim that their
What are you talking about?
assumption of what the fringe shift should be based on their assumption that the ether existed. It would be a different prediction if there was a different field.
But they didn't find an aether. They didn't find what they expected if there was an aether. And then Einstein explained, well, that's probably because there is no aether. Look at the Muggs-Morley experiment and everything else. Here's my evidence that relativity is real. Let's go and test it. And then they did. Turned out relativity was real. Right? Yes, they used a post-diction to explain the results of the Muggs-Morley experiment. No problem with that. I can agree with that 100%. Which go to help them go towards the predictions of relativity that we could test in the future, and they did, showing that relativity was correct, and clearly aether theory was incorrect. No one thinks that as soon as the Muggs-Morley experiment came out, aether was discarded. No one thinks that. Right? That's kind of a flat Earth straw man of our claim. We're just saying that the Muggs-Morley experiment, when you look back at it under the the understanding that relativity is real, it all makes sense.
You realize the fringe shift pattern makes sense within the non-moving Earth with the ether moving 15 degrees per hour?
No, it really doesn't. There would still be a fringe shift. As Whitsitt would say, if you use kinematic equivalence, you should get the same fringe shift either way if there was a aether moving at that amount. But there's no aether because relativity shows that no aether is needed.
But their assumption back then was that the fringe shift should be different with the Earth moving relative to it. So there should be different predictions.
And they didn't get that. They did not get there what they predicted it would be, right? And then later on, we got rid of the aether. But none of this explains how Earth is flat. How does the Muggs-Morley experiment explain that Earth is flat? Because the people that did the Muggs-Morley experiment, their maths actually includes the fact that the Earth is curved.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's no way that the Muggs-Morley experiment could show that the Earth is flat. It definitely doesn't show that it's stationary because every experiment ever since then has shown that it moves. So there's nothing around MMX that actually backs up anything to do with flat Earth other than misunderstandings of physics. Come on, you hate Whitsitt as much as I do, and you just quoted all his fucking nonsense.
No, I wouldn't call it a quote. I mean,
It was word
I'm
for
reading
word, dude,
the
even including the post-diction bit. Me and Will laughed at that last week. That's not what a post-diction is. If you can then make something about the future, that's a prediction. Just a post-diction
well,
is
a
purely
post-diction,
explaining past things, but we can still explain future things. So relativity
can
can
make
make
a
both
post
post-dictions and predictions.
you can make a post-diction, and then that model can be predictive.
So there's a difference between post-diction and prediction.
I know.
Relativity can do both post-dictions and predictions. It's a predictive model that can also make post-dictions because of experiments done in the past.
Okay.
But let's be clear, QOP, nothing about MMX backs up Earth being flat in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, I showed
It doesn't
measurements
really
of the
it
drop of
doesn't
8
have anything to
miles
do with the
squared,
Earth's shape. It has to do with interferometry, was just basically the study of light.
which has nothing to do with the Earth being flat.
So you're saying ring laser gyros don't prove the Earth's a ball?
It shows that the Earth rotates at 15 degrees per hour, 100%.
If you assume that Einstein's corrections for their assumptions was a correct
They've been shown to be
theory.
correct. Every prediction that Einstein has ever made in history has turned out to be correct.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the mathematical model was given to him.
Well, that's a
So it was
lovely claim you've got no evidence for, so we will dismiss it.
well, he didn't. You would agree he didn't do any like actual experiments on his own. He just kind of explained away different experiments that other
No,
people were
he
doing.
was more of a theory man. Other people did experiments. Nothing wrong with that. We need theory people.
You usually have to test your theories. If not, it's
Other
just
people tested his
postage.
theories. He made predictions about, again, anytime you talk about the future, as in, I think this will happen, is a prediction. Stop saying post-diction because you're using the word wrong. Please. I'm trying to
And
help you
did
here.
he?
Every time you use the word
Did he?
post-diction, you are using the word incorrectly.
Isn't it strange that so many people set up different interferometry experiments? Einstein never set up any, and somehow
No,
he understands
not
the
really.
the light wave.
Yeah, he understood it. Other people did experiments. He was a theory man. It means nothing.
It's usually like if you understand physics, you can come up with a new technology.
Who says so?
I mean, Tesla believed that light behaved like a sound wave, traveling through the ether. So he
No,
has,
he didn't
all
actually believe
kinds
in
of
the ether.
patents.
Uh, but he also got a lot of things wrong, Tesla. So that's
But we still use his AC current.
yeah, he got that right. Yeah, that was a good thing. But anyway,
We
none of
don't use
this is
Einstein.
evidence that the Earth
We
is
don't
flat
use
or
Einstein.
stationary in any way, shape,
Einstein
or
came up
form.
with.
We know that Einstein's explanations are correct because we've tested them. We've used the predictive model of relativity to make experiments and test Einstein's hypothesis. You don't have to do them yourself. Other people can do it. That's no problem with that. But we have tested Einstein's hypotheses and found them to be true. We failed to falsify any of his hypotheses. Every prediction he ever makes is correct. So we know that his explanations of gyroscopes and ring laser gyroscopes and interferometry is correct. Therefore, a ring laser gyroscope measures the Earth rotating at 15 degrees per hour. But we can use much more direct things like the pendulum experiment that I brought up. I would love to hear your explanation of the Foucault's pendulum.
It's all the same debate. It's the same, vortexual motion of the sky of the
There's no
um.
vortexual motion, that's just a thing that you're saying. There's no evidence of that in any way, shape, or form.
Well, so you believe the ring laser gyro and the Foucault's pendulum are measuring Earth spinning, and I believe it's measuring the vortex, electromagnetic vortex in the sky that's drifting everything. So how would we, by looking at the effect that we're both claiming these things are having, how would we deduce or test
Very simple.
which one is causing it?
Well,
We're
number
just
one,
looking
let's
at
deal
the.
with ring laser gyroscopes. Anything laser is light. Light is not affected by electromagnetic fields. So therefore, if, as you've just claimed, the aether is electromagnetic in nature, it would not affect light. Therefore, making any explanation the ring laser gyroscopes do with aether completely moot because lasers are not affected by EM fields. Magnetic fields of any kind, they don't affect light. That's not how it works because light
That's not
is
true.
neutral.
It's not true. I literally, in my ferrocell, I can literally see light bending and
That's
refracting
the
around
medium
magnetic field.
that light is moving through. The light itself is just traveling in a path. The medium that it's traveling through gets bent. Light itself is unaffected by magnetic fields because it's neutral. There is no positive or
I
negative
mean,
charge to light, therefore it cannot be affected by magnetic fields.
well, that's what you believe, but it's not what
No,
we
it's true.
experience.
That's what all experience tells us. Light does not get affected by magnetic fields. It's impossible because light is neutral.
So then, why do you guys get a why do we get a white wave pattern in the double slit experiment?
Because that's nothing to do with electromagnetism.
And what is the field that's waving?
The field that question doesn't even make sense. Light is not affected
Well, there's
by magnetic fields, and the double split experiment is nothing to do with light and magnetic fields. It's to do with the quantum nature of light existing in both a particle and a wave at the same time.
that's contradictory.
Yes, it's very contradictory, but that's what the point of the double slit experiment is.
Isn't the first law of logic non-contradiction?
Logic doesn't always apply in science exactly as we think it should. We find things that maybe defy logic for a first look, maybe seem completely counterintuitive. Doesn't mean they're incorrect. You again, just to be clear, everyone that's ever studied magnetic fields and light understands that light is unaffected by magnetic fields. It is a neutral thing. There is no charge to light. In your ferrocell, it's not the light that's being bent, it's the medium that the light is traveling through. Just
Well, the
like when
magnet
light
literally
refracts
affects
in our
which way the
atmosphere,
light
it's not
reflects.
the light actually bending, it's the change of incidence due to the different, the slight change in the medium as it goes. Light itself does not bend.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't really think that light is a particle that's traveling. I think it's a wave that's just perturbating through a
Okay, well,
medium.
to be quite frank, I'm not really going to go to you for quantum mechanics knowledge and I'm trying not to be mean here. You didn't
so
know the internal angles of an equilateral triangle.
yeah, I didn't pay attention to math. I'm not interested in calculating things. It's for calculators.
Yeah, it's also
But
very handy to be able to do basic maths. Um, you need to understand the principles of. You can use a calculator all you want, but that's not going to help you do a quadratic equation if you don't know how to do a quadratic equation.
I haven't needed to do any equations, since
That's
high school,
because
basically.
you're not a scientist, are you?
Science is not math. Math is
Yeah,
a
but to be a
description of
scientist,
like,
you have to use mathematics.
to be accurate as far as like, creating technologies, but not for testing different phenomena.
Oh, absolutely, you would need mathematics for that because you'd need to
I
make
mean, if you want to like
predictions and things. Otherwise, you
model,
don't
I
know what you're
guess.
testing.
Yeah, I like testing like cause relationship, cause effect relationship, not really the exact mathematical model of
Yeah,
things.
you need maths to determine the cause-effect relationship. Right. Anyway, so the pendulum. You also claimed that that's to do with the electromagnetic field. Do you agree that EM fields would affect different materials with different forces?
Can you restate that question?
Do you agree that electromagnetic fields affect different materials by imparting different forces upon them?
Well, it's the same force, but yeah, they're affected differently, different materials. Yeah.
Okay, so I've done a Foucault's pendulum experiment with both plastic and metal and got exactly the same result. I've seen
Can I
many
see?
different materials that it's been done with. You can just look at all the stuff all over the world and see the different experiments done with different materials that we always get the same result, regardless of what it's done. The one that I showed you by the gentleman physicist is a block of concrete and is still affected the same way as metal, as plastic, as rubber, as ice, as any of the Foucault's pendulums, regardless of the material. So therefore, it cannot be electromagnetic in nature, otherwise the different materials would be affected differently.
So you're talking about Foucault's pendulum, not a Cavendish?
Yes.
Um, can I see so you did one yourself with plastic?
Yeah, when I was at college, at what, university, sorry, yeah.
Is there a video of that anywhere? I've never seen
No,
them do
but
it with
you
plastic.
didn't really record your stuff at university 20 odd years ago.
Because that's usually what I say that to test the two theories. Plastic would be a good way to test
Well,
our
when you
theory.
say if you are the one having doubts, then it's up to you to try and disprove the hypothesis. So you would have to set up the experiment with different things. I've done it, and I know I've done it. I don't have a video recording of it because you didn't record all your experiments in university. But it doesn't matter because there is like literally hundreds of thousands of recordings of it being done all across the world. So and
Are
they
you
get the
sure?
same results as me.
Did you know? Did you actually see what was in the plastic Foucault's pendulum?
Of the one that I made, yeah, it was a big plastic ball.
Oh, you made it?
Well, I didn't make it. It was something they had in the university that was made out of solid plastic. I shaped it
Okay,
into a
that's
ball.
interesting. Yeah, I mean everything is a sliding scale of conductivity, so everything is conducts electromagnetic fields.
Slightly differently, yes. Yeah, but regardless of which material a Foucault's pendulum is made out of, they all get exactly the same result. So your argument about that doesn't make any sense and falls apart straight away.
But
If
so I
every if
believe that
every Foucault's pendulum in the world is made of exactly the same thing, then your argument might hold a slightest bit of merit. But the fact that they're made of different materials disproves your hypothesis pretty instantly.
no, because so the main thing is so like with gravity, with whatever is causing the drift with pendulums
The
and
rotation of the
ring
Earth.
laser gyros and everything. So no, I know that's your theory, but um so I believe that like the ether permeates through everything and that everything you know the atomic model is just a little wave phenomena within the ether that's affected by the downward electric flow of the ether. So everything, even plastic, is made of like um, this wave phenomena that is everything is made of. So the gravity and the vortex of the sky would just affect everything. I mean, at different rates, obviously. Not
Yeah,
no one else
exactly.
is
So
really
different
feeling this drift.
materials would react differently, and they don't. Therefore, you're incorrect about what is causing the Foucault's pendulum drift.
Well, that would be interesting to test different materials to see if they drift a little bit differently.
They don't. It's been tested.
Well, I would have to do that myself or something to see if there's a
Foucault's
difference, I
pendulums
guess.
are not that hard to set up as long as you do it properly. Extremely tool
Yeah,
building,
I'm
something very, very heavy, really, really long rope with zero twist in it, a decent pivot point that doesn't stick in any way, shape, or form. No wind, no other forces acting on it. Um, do all these things, set it up properly, and it's just a measuring device that measures exactly what we expect.
Oh yeah, just like gravity affects everything at the same rate, no matter what the material. It's everything is affected by this what I believe is like just an etheric force.
Except you've no evidence of that. It's just word salad.
Well, it's a theory. I mean, I've only seen Foucault's pendulums done with
Theory with no
a
evidence.
metal thing.
I just showed you one done with concrete, though.
Do you agree that charged batteries weigh differently than non-charged batteries?
Very slightly, yeah.
Okay, so and then you don't think there's a relationship between charge and gravity then, even though there's a
It's
different weight.
literally because when they're fully charged, there's more mass in them.
Oh, now the electricity has mass.
It's not necessarily holding more electricity. It's doing something to the material inside of it.
Okay, well that makes more sense within my theory that you know gravity and weight is caused by charge.
Um,
I
yeah,
got a I got a
well,
Van de Graaff
it's
generator. If you want me to see, you want to see me levitate a napkin with the electrostatics?
yeah. I no need because I understand multiple forces can exist at the same time. So um, the battery is really just to do with E equals mc squared, energy mass equivalence, right? So that's it. More energy because of the more stored, charge. So it literally weighs more because of that. But yeah, you can absolutely levitate a napkin because multiple forces can exist at the same time. You take away the force created by the Van de Graaff generator, and it goes back down because that other force is no longer there. Levitating things is not magic or defying gravity. It's just making a force in the opposite direction.
Well, it's just proof. I mean, the fact that you guys like, I mean, there's no way to deny electromagnetic force. It's the gravity. It's not even like as far as all the forces within your mainstream model. They don't even call gravity like space-time force. They call it just gravitational force. So that's kind of like assuming
And
that it can change, but electromagnetic force is like a thing that can't be disproven. So
there's
there's not really any
it
proof of
doesn't. You do
anything
the
different,
maths and
any
it
different
doesn't
force.
match up in no way, shape, or form. Plus, to say that's what's causing things to go down, you're talking about Whitsitt again and his uniform downward electric current that increases 100 amps per whatever it is, but that dissipates after like 3-4 kilometers, and things still fall down at the same rate, so it doesn't match predictions. There's no predictive model around any of what you're saying, right? In science, you need a predictive model to be able to test. You can't do the test because you don't even have the predictive model. If you had the predictive model, you can make postdictions as well, because that's a thing that happens.
There's no part of the scientific method that says you have to have a predictive model.
Well, there is, because you have to make a prediction. That's having a predictive model. And that's literally step 3 of the scientific method. Make a prediction.
Well, it doesn't mean you have to have a fully flushed out predictive model though.
Well, yeah, but you need a predictive model to make a prediction. A predictive model of some kind, of at least the hypothesis that you've got. You need to make a prediction using your hypothesis, and that is a model. Something that makes a prediction is a model.
So I agree, but so as far as like the scientific method, right? We have to test the independent and dependent variable. The independent one is the one that you manipulate. So within the atomic clock, and the cesium atom vibrating differently, different altitudes. What is the independent variable in that test?
How fast it vibrates relative to your position.
So like you guys claim it's the altitude, right?
That's not just the altitude, the speed that it's traveling.
Yeah, so you guys manipulate the speed of the plane or the altitude of the plane to.
Yeah, and that causes the cesium atom to vibrate differently to the cesium atom on the twin atomic clock on the ground. Yeah. So the independent variable is the difference in the vibrational frequency.
So obviously, like within your model, the altitude and speed is not like the actual cause. The cause in your model is space-time. So you're not actually testing your cause of space-time. You're just testing the different aspects of like.
We're saying if space-time is real, this is the prediction of something that will happen. We absolutely are testing that every single time, because space-time is why that happens. So that's literally what the test is. It's a test of length contraction and time dilation.
There's never a test. There's never a test of space-time. There's always just the baseless assertion that this must be caused by space-time. It's predicted by our model.
Yeah, that's how you manipulate anything. Even an electrical field, you manipulate an electrical field by changing voltage and current. You don't actually change the field itself. You change other things to make that happen. And with space-time, you test things like distance and speed, and mass, and how that affects the passage of time and the change in distance. That you manipulate one to get the other. That's what you do in science. So you're misunderstanding science, and you've not given any evidence of the Earth being flat in any way, shape, or form, dude.
Well, we didn't really go into what Jesse did with the theodolite. I mean, Jesse's measured concave Earth a couple of times with some of his observations.
No, he hasn't. He measures the Earth being a globe every time.
No, you can ask him yourself. He's gotten, at different altitudes, the optics kind of are way more.
Yeah, but he takes into account what the optics should show because he understands how optics work. Jesse Kozlowski has never measured a concave Earth, but I showed you something very, very specifically measured an 8 inches per mile squared drop.
Well, I don't disagree that there's an average optical cutoff of things at as they go farther from you. That's assumed within like the correct understanding of optics.
What is an optical cutoff? Explain it.
It's when so so you guys think of perspective in like a Euclidean fashion, like you just draw perspective lines out into like a infinite world with no with light doesn't ever bend, it just travels straight. So the perspective we have on Earth, and in reality, it's a spherical perspective. So those perspective lines, as things get smaller and smaller as they go away from you, it's not a Euclidean straight line that they just get like that those lines go in straight lines. There's a sphericity of your optics based because you're looking at the whole world around you, and
Yeah.
there also is a lot of refraction caused by the pressure gradient. The lower pressures at the bottom, and everything is literally refracting
Thanks, gravity.
towards
Yeah.
that. So light that's coming towards you is going to refract into the ground before it gets to you, and the light that's farthest from you, which because of perspective is
It
getting
doesn't
lower,
refract into the
it's
ground.
also
You,
going to get it's going
you,
to cut off by the ground because it's refracting into the denser medium.
dude, it can't be cut off by the ground when it's close to you because of light bending down. That's not how it would work. You wouldn't be able to see the light unless the light reached you. Plus, what you just said is 1 over arctan equal no arctan equals the uh, alpha equals arctan 2 over gr. I think is the equation that you just described, which calculates exactly what we see in a 3D space. Perspective takes into account every dimension, and we understand it. You seem to think that you have some special knowledge here.
I mean, I've talked to surveyors a lot, and they don't account for many optical phenomena
What
when
kind of
doing
surveyor?
surveying. Do you agree or
Wait,
disagree that the
which
Fresnel
kind of?
effect,
Hold on, I asked you a question. Which kind of surveyor?
geodetic survey?
So ones that do long distance surveying, not like plane surveyors.
Yeah,
And what did they tell you?
that they don't account for things like the Fresnel effect or for Rayleigh's criterion
Well, why would they?
because it's an optical effect that never doesn't exist. It always exists.
And it wouldn't change what you're seeing. What they would
So
use
if
would be Fermat's principle, which would be applicable to what they're doing.
so,
The
you know what the
atmosphere
Fresnel
doesn't act
effect
like a
is?
Fresnel lens, so you don't need to take that into account. It in no way, shape, or form acts like a Fresnel lens. So you
That's
wouldn't
not
need.
that's so
No.
so
I'm going to cut
Fresnel.
you off. I'm going to cut you off there because no, the atmosphere does not act like a Fresnel lens. They are different things. A Fresnel lens does not have a gradient going up like ours. It's not how a Fresnel lens works. So no, you don't need to use the Fresnel. And Rayleigh criteria really doesn't apply to long distance observations of things that you can see.
Okay, but as far so first of all, I'm not talking about the Fresnel lens. The Fresnel came up with lots of things. The Fresnel effect has to do with an optical phenomena that happens below the horizon, right below the horizon.
You can't see below the horizon.
You can't. I mean, we can't in your model. We can't see behind the horizon, but we can see below the horizon. Obviously, the ground
No, you
ramps up
can't
to
see
the
below the
horizon.
horizon. The horizon is the bottom. You can't see below that.
Within your field of view, the angle that's lower
Oh, you mean things like rising
than the
up
horizon.
to the horizon with perspective? Yeah, I don't think Fresnel
Yeah.
effect has anything to do with that. Again, you're getting the things mixed up there, bud.
No, you can just look up the Fresnel effect. That's exactly what it has to
Right,
do with.
define the Fresnel effect.
So, basically, when a when a layer is when the angle of a layer is very shallow, it becomes more reflective. The more shallow that your angle to that layer is. So, like, if you have a table, that you're looking like eye level to, or you got a road in the distance that's level with your eyes, right? When you're coming around a corner or going over a hill, the Fresnel effect is what happens when the angle of light bouncing off of off of like a layer
Yeah,
basically
no, that's not
causes
what
it
the
to
Fresnel
turn.
effect is. I don't know who told you that. Where did you get that information? Just out of interest, because that's completely wrong. The Fresnel effect is about how much light is reflected versus transmitted when it hits a boundary between two materials, like air to glass or air to water. It's nothing to do
Let's just
with the angle of what you just said. It's literally to do with a boundary between the two materials and how much light is reflected versus transmitted.
that might be a component of it. But
Well,
it's
no, that's what it
so
is. That is the definition of the Fresnel effect.
okay. But you should look up like images of the Fresnel effect and see where it happens the most.
Yeah, but I just told you what the Fresnel effect is, and you got it wrong.
Okay, so there's, I mean, obviously different. I mean, if you just chat GPT like Fresnel effect, it might give you a different definition than I did.
Where did you get your
But
definition?
but if you just look up Fresnel effect like
I just
images,
did, and I
you'll
just told
see.
you what the Fresnel effect is after I looked it up, and you were
So do
wrong
you
about what
disagree
you
that
said.
there's? So you disagree with the Fresnel effect happening below the horizon?
Again, it's to do with how much light is transmitted versus reflected when it hits a boundary. So technically, it could happen on the horizon as well. Dude, I'm really. I mean, I don't want to kind of be nasty here, but you're using words wrong a lot. Like, you're not getting the words that you're saying. You're using them in the wrong context, which is really affecting your arguments because you haven't got the basic sentence structure together because the words you're using them wrong.
No, I used post-diction correctly, and you just
No, you
disagreed that
really
Einstein
didn't
was
use
making.
post-diction correctly. You said that if you're talking about the future, it's a post-diction, where it's not. You can't think you use
Okay, so
post-diction correctly when you keep saying that relativity is a post-diction. It's not. It can make post-dictions, but it can also make predictions. As the second
you know,
that you're talking about the future or something that hasn't happened, it is a prediction, not a post-diction.
I granted that a post-diction can be predictive, but I believe it's fundamentally a post-diction because it was created based on knowing what happened in
But
the
that's
past.
not a post-diction. That is coming up with a theory based on previous knowledge. And then using that
Okay,
knowledge to make a post-diction. You're even getting how you
I just
make a post-diction incorrect, which is why you're using
I
the
just brought
word
that up.
wrong. You fundamentally
Okay.
do not understand the word post-diction.
Okay, as far as the Fresnel effect, though, I looked because you didn't like my definition, so I looked up on ChatGPT the definition of the Fresnel effect, and it says when light hits a surface almost parallel to it, grazing incidence, most of it reflects instead of refracting.
Yeah.
The reflectivity depends on the angle of incidence and polarization. So I don't know what kind of Fresnel came up with lots of things. So the Fresnel effect might be um,
Yeah, but
interpreted differently depending on
it's not
what field
exclusive
you're
to
talking
below
about.
the horizon like you were saying.
Yeah, so the grazing incidence of the optical observed angles below the horizon are the highest has the highest grazing incidence.
But that, again, you don't need to take that into account when you're doing measurements, especially when you do measurements that aren't even over water. They're not looking
No,
at.
not,
They're not
not
looking at. They're looking at points, a specific point. They're not looking at the ground at points in between that. Surveyors don't need to do that. They look at a point A from point B, or point B from point A, and then to point C or something. They make triangles and then add those up. Basically, the Fresnel effect makes no difference to their work.
okay. Well,
But
they
again,
claim it
like, dude,
doesn't, and that's the problem.
none of this is giving that the Earth is flat. When all measurements ever show that the Earth is curved, and I know
Well,
that
if there's no,
surveyors understand their measurements better than you, therefore come to the correct conclusion, whereas you don't even understand the effects that they're talking about or the words that you're trying to use.
okay, so but have we come to a an agreement that the Fresnel effect always occurs?
In whenever there's a boundary, yes,
I don't know what you're talking about with the boundary. It's not
because
the kind of
it
Fresnel effect I'm
happens
talking about.
when on a boundary between two layers. That's what the
No, that's like
Fresnel effect is.
that's like that's just like refraction, honestly.
It's a specific type of refraction called the Fresnel effect. It's literally describes how the propagation of refracted light changes with the angle material properties at a boundary.
You said, oh, the angle.
Yeah, which is what I said
Okay, so
first time.
it's just like, yeah, it's like a different definition that's kind of it's not addressing the important part as far as like It's the angle of incidence is like causes the reflectivity on basically anything. So nothing,
So, okay, what's your
everything in your
mathematical model
optical.
to back all this up that shows that it's flat? Because you
So if
need
they're not
maths for
accounting for an
this.
effect, if they're not accounting for an effect that always happens,
It doesn't
and when they're
happen when they're
measuring,
not looking at a
when
boundary.
they're measuring, when they're measuring the angle of another theodolite or a total station, when they're doing reciprocal zenith angles, and they aren't accounting for an optical effect that always happens and causes a mirroring effect based on the angle of incidence right below that level line. It can be caused by air. It can be caused by any of the ground in front of them. They don't actually know. They can't know where the theodolite actually is because they're not accounting for a reflectivity of just how light works, basically.
Yeah, they don't use the Fresnel effect because it's the wrong tool. Surveyors are measuring angles and distances through air, not how light reflects off of a surface. It's
But
not the correct
light is a
thing
surface.
to
Oh,
use.
sorry, air is a surface too.
Yeah, but they're not measuring how light reflects off of a surface. They are
They're assuming that it's not,
measuring angles and distances through air, not how light
and they're assuming
like the Fresnel effect doesn't happen between like in the air. It's a boundary between two things like air and water or something, right? If they're just looking straight through
are
the
they
air, the Fresnel effect is not accounted for because it's not happening. It's not the right tool. It's not the thing that they would need to take into account. And if you're
I know
claiming
I
it
see
is,
I
then
see
you're going to have to
what I
show me
said.
the wait. If you're claiming it is, then you're going to have to show me the maths of why it is.
Math.
Yeah, show me the maths of why it is.
So well, that's, you said a lot of things I wanted to address. So
But no, before you address
if they
them,
are, if
I want to see the maths as to why, in a straight line looking through air, they would need to take the Fresnel effect into account. Show me the maths, please.
I could show you geometry, but not math.
Geometry is a type of maths,
Yeah, it's the only type of math I'm interested in.
and you'd need numbers in geometry.
Okay, but as far as like, so when they're doing reciprocal zenith angles,
Can you show me the
do you
maths?
agree that you believe light's traveling straight?
Light travels straight, but mediums that they travel through bend.
Okay, well, I would agree that the light is not really bending also. But
But
so,
anyway,
but you guys
you've
assume
dodged my question, dude. I want the maths for what you're saying, please, because the maths for all of
maths?
my stuff exists. Yes, show me the maths.
The math is the same. The only thing that's different is
Show me
that
the
there's an
maths then.
optical
If it's the
effect.
same, show me it.
I don't have math on me right now.
Why not? This is your argument. You should have the math to back it up.
No, I'm not interested in math. I don't debate math.
You need maths for your arguments. They include maths. The effects are described using maths.
No, we can
The
figure out
Fresnel effect is a mathematical
if a model
formula.
has contradictions. If a model contradicts itself, I don't need any math to explain that the contradiction just debunks it.
You do, because the Fresnel effect is using maths to calculate exactly what's happening. So you would need to show the maths that it was wrong.
It's there. There's no. They're not even claiming to apply even account for the Fresnel effect. So why would I need any
They don't
math
need to because
to
there's no
describe?
boundary between
Exactly.
the two things. They don't need to take it into
That
account because
definition you looked up is not in not giving you enough of an understanding on this subject.
it only happens in boundaries between materials.
Can you look up the Fresnel reflection effect?
Yeah. Why Fresnel is irrelevant because there is no surface boundary between you and the target. Light isn't being split into reflected or transmitted beams, and you're not analyzing intensity, you're measuring distance. The Fresnel effect is nothing to do with measuring distance. It does not apply. Chat, let's not time out balls of gas today, all right? Going to give them a chance to just derp in the chat if they like.
So I think
Like, do you really think that surveyors that have been doing their job for like centuries have got it wrong, but you've got it right? Honestly.
so there's three.
No.
Three,
Wait,
when you look up the
I've
Fresnel,
asked you a question. Hold on. Do you really think that surveyors that have been doing their jobs for centuries have got it wrong this whole time, and you've got it right. Is that what you think?
Yes.
Even though you've never studied surveying, you don't understand the
Can we
maths
just
or the methods behind it. You still think that you understand it better than the professionals that have been doing it for centuries. Is that right?
Yes. Can we go back to the Fresnel effect?
Sorry, I just want to make sure that Rubiks has got that for a short.
So
Rubiks, did you get that? That he thinks he understands surveying better than surveyors, even though he's never studied surveying, doesn't understand the equipment, doesn't understand the maths that they use, doesn't understand the refractive effects, doesn't understand what Fresnel effect is or how it applies to what they're doing. He still thinks that he knows it more than the professionals. Do you not realize how much ego is involved in that? To think that you understand something more than the professionals that use it every day in their job.
Can we talk about the topic we were discussing?
Yeah, it's serious questions though.
So the when you look up the Fresnel effect, there's
wait.
3 different
Professor Philip Bell wants to know if
there's-
you will talk to him in the future.
I'm trying to talk to you right now.
Oh no, he wants to know if you'll talk to him in the future.
I don't know who that is.
He's a professor that put someone on the moon.
He put someone on the moon, you said?
Something on the moon. He was involved in the Chandrayaan lander mission.
Yeah,
He's an
maybe.
actual professor.
Can we so the Fresnel, so if you just looked up, so the main Fresnel effect, that, so when you look up the Fresnel effect, like in Google, yeah, I don't know where you got your the one you looked up, but I think you looked up like you didn't look up the Fresnel effect. I don't know. I think you might have looked up like the Fresnel lens effect. Did you look up the Fresnel lens effect?
I looked up the Fresnel effect and gave you the definition of it. It's to do with reflected, transmitted stuff on a boundary.
On a surface.
A boundary that's a surface. Yeah, there's no surface in the air. If you're looking straight from one theodolite to the other, just through the air, there's no boundary surface there.
Is there any way you can bring up an image of the Fresnel effect on Google so I can show you what I'm talking about?
Well, you can bring up an image.
I don't know how to. Well, I'd have to share. You want me to share a picture?
Yeah. But none of this is evidence for the Earth being flat. It's evidence that you don't understand surveying. Because all surveyors disagree with you, the ones that actually do their job. So you haven't given any evidence that the Earth is flat in any way, shape, or form. Like, basically, to break down your argument, you're saying, well, I think they misunderstand how light works, therefore the Earth is flat. But you've got nothing to back that up. No measurements or maths or anything. Just you saying that you think they don't understand this particular effect, therefore the Earth is flat. That's not a good argument. Guys, thank you for all the super chats. We've got 5 more to go, and then you're going to meet the goal, which means that our friend Q-Up here will give you all a cookie. Isn't that right? Come on, Q-Up. There's like 400 watching. You're going to give them all a cookie, right?
No, don't eat cookies.
Well, no, they get the cookie. You don't have to eat them, but you'll give them the cookie, right?
No.
Why not? That's just rude. There's
give
400 people
poisonous
here that
high
want a
fructose-
cookie, dude. My super chat goal says they get a cookie. So you have to give them a cookie.
Say subscribe to my YouTube, I'll give them cookies.
If you subscribe to his YouTube, you've heard that. That's a legal contract that he's just made with you. So if you go and subscribe to his YouTube channel, even if just for a little bit, he has to give you a cookie. What kind of cookies?
Marijuana cookies.
Okay. Do they have to have weed in? Because I've quit weed.
You drink alcohol, but you quit weed.
Yeah, it's not like I drink alcohol a lot, which is why I'm probably so hungover. And special occasions, and my wife and I had a bunch of drinks last night for our anniversary.
That's cool.
Let's see what we had: a martini in the house. Well, 2 martinis actually. No, not martinis. Sorry, margarita. We had 2 margaritas, and then we had ginger beer and rum. 3 of those. Then we had some lager. Then we had maybe 4 or 5 ciders. A couple of shots of tequila. Shit, no wonder I'm fucking hungover. All right. Anyway, none of this matters unless you can show me the maths of how the effect that you're claiming makes the sites and the experiments and the measurements they've done show the Earth being flat. You need the math to back that up rather than just making claims about how you think this particular effect works. You're saying it could change the angle of the light, etc., etc. Well, give us the maths to back that up. Otherwise, it's just a fundamentally false claim. You haven't debunked anything that I've said. As soon as you brought up the electromagnetic aether, well, yeah, Foucault's pendulums debunk that because they're done with different materials. Not only is that measurement there, but there's thousands more measurements all across the world all of the time. Radar, the fact it's got a horizon, shows that the Earth is curved. And the fact that we've been to space, are in space right now. We're only about 30,000 miles away from the moon at this point, looking back at Earth and taking pictures of it. So we've measured the curve and we've got pictures of the curve. Have you got anything at all?
Well, so I don't believe that. I believe obviously they're faking going to space. So as far as like
Any
how
evidence?
radio waves, as far as how radio waves propagate, how light propagates, sound propagates, it all propagates outwardly in a spherical waveform, which dies
Unless you've
off.
got directional
Like
antennas, of course.
all those electromagnetic propagations all die off eventually. So the rate at which they die off are consistent with what the globe model has created the model for.
So you're saying that reality matches the globe model, right?
Well, so all these things are postdictions on how far radio
No,
waves
you keep
propagate.
getting postdictions wrong. Predictions, things you can guess it happens in the future, no longer a postdiction. You keep saying postdiction, but you are using that word wrongly. You are using it incorrectly. You are not using that word in its intended fashion.
Okay, well, did they know the radius of the Earth before they went to space and saw the radius of the Earth?
Yes, we've known it for thousands of years.
Okay, so the radius value was not discovered from going to space. So when they looked at like the horizon, saw
They
both
tested
disappearing
it in
bottom.
space, though. They went to space and tested the radius value, and it turns out it is
Yeah,
what we thought it was.
right,
They made a
yeah,
prediction.
I
They
don't.
made a prediction that if we go to space and we look at the Earth will be this radius value, and they did that. And then we measured it with stuff in space. We measured it with radar in space. We measured it with lasers in space. They've looked at it and take pictures of it, and it's clearly curved.
Can I formulate my argument real quick?
You can try.
Okay, so as far as like what we can test and repeat, we can't go to space and confirm that they're doing this. We can't see the globe Earth radius. So as far as
They're doing it
Aristophanes
right now.
figuring, as far as Aristophanes figuring out, it's so hard to, like, dude, you interrupt a lot, bro.
Sorry, you just said something that I just wanted to point out, that you're saying that we can't go to space and check it, but they're literally doing that right now.
I know, but I don't believe they're actually doing that, and I can't do that. So,
Who cares what you
I mean,
believe?
that's not okay. But if it's that simple, then why debate a flat earther? If it's just, we go to space and that proves the Earth's a ball. I mean, we're debating what we can actually test on the Earth.
And what test have you ever done?
So I was going over how you guys first came up with the radius. It was Eratosthenes looking at shadows, correct?
Eratosthenes.
So is it?
Yeah, and he wasn't the first. He was just one of the people that did it.
So the radius value was created based on what we see optically, as far as perspective, with how light is causing shadows.
That was a test. They made a prediction that the shadows would be this if it is, and then they measured the angle of the shadows, and because they knew the Earth was curved, that was it didn't get exact, but it was a pretty close to what we have now. Probably he didn't take refractive conditions into account back then, which is why maybe it wasn't 100% accurate, but it was pretty close to what we know it is now.
So he wasn't accurate, but he still got the same radius of the Earth?
He didn't get the same. He was pretty close.
Okay, so he didn't see the globe Earth from space. He was looking at shadows, which means that he created a globe model based the radius value, the near perfect radius value of your globe Earth, based on how he saw optically the sun causing shadows.
And turns out he was right. Yes, we've tested it in other ways since then. Turns out he was correct.
But this globe model is just reverse engineered optics and an explanatory model for how the optical phenomena we see are
That's
caused.
not what reverse engineering means.
Yeah, because
you're using words wrong again. You're using words incorrectly. What they're doing is they are saying, well, this is a measurement that we can test. Let's do the measurement and see what we get. The shadows and the way they act are what we expect to happen. There's no reverse engineering. It's if the Earth is a globe, light coming in from the sun is parallel, it makes shadows. No reverse engineering there. That's a prediction based on a model. Simple. Eratosthenes didn't give us a model. Eratosthenes gave us a approximation of the Earth's radius value in an experiment that he did. That's it.
You don't think they had sundials and stuff? You didn't think they knew how
sundials are
shadows
based on a globe.
behave?
They are literally designed to work on a globe.
Okay, but are you understanding my point that I'm saying?
That you don't understand what reverse engineering means, therefore you're a bit confused, is your point.
But you're claiming, so they took what we see optically with the sundial, with Eratosthenes' sticks and shadows and his obelisk and all that crap. That's based on what we see, and that's how they created the globe model. The radius value basically is based on wrapping that all up into a globe model that assumes light to be traveling straight. They didn't see the ball from space to look at, that's the radius value of the ball
of course,
from space.
they knew the Earth was a globe, and they knew they couldn't get to space. Yeah.
Around us.
Dude, this is irrelevant. They knew the Earth was a globe, but they also couldn't get to space, so they measured it from the ground.
How could they know the
Turns out that when we went to space and checked, they were right.
But I'm just saying that the radius value is created based on what how we see optically.
Well, no, it wasn't created. It was measured.
Well, they measured shadows.
Yes, because the prediction is that shadows will give us a thing that we need. We can predict based on the angle of light coming in that the shadows will be X. Give us, then we do some maths based on the angle of the shadows at different positions, and we can calculate a radius. That is a prediction. And even if you disagree with it, even if you disagree that they could do that, which you do and you're wrong, it doesn't matter because we've tested it since then. Who cares what Eratosthenes did? That was 2,500 years ago. But he was pretty damn close to what we now know it to be. We've been to space and checked. They are in space right now, actually checking.
Okay, so for anyone that doesn't believe that they go to space, you would say that they don't have proof that the Earth's a globe because Eratosthenes doesn't
Science
prove it
doesn't
enough.
give you proof.
We need to go to space.
There's no such thing as scientific proof. There's evidence.
Okay,
the proof
so I agree.
is in the maths that we can measure and then go, well, here's the mathematical proof of something. There's no such thing as scientific proof. But even without going to space, we can make predictions of what we would expect to see and then test those. And we can see that based on the geometry of the world around us, that the Earth is a globe with the radius that we know it is. We don't need to go to space. That's just an amazing way to check. It's the most conclusive way to check. And your only argument is, nuh-uh, they haven't gone to space. But you haven't even explained why you think space travel isn't possible.
Oh, there's a lot of reasons why I think space travel is impossible.
Like what? Tell us.
Where do we start? The weight of those rockets is a crazy amount of weight, and I don't think...
Show us your maths to say that they couldn't get off the ground with the power of the rockets.
I wouldn't grant the power that they say the rocket thruster actually causes.
You got any proof of that?
I mean, The rocket's going. I mean, the rocket just optically looks like it's going way too slow, like way slower than they claim. And also,
How do you determine
there's
that?
I just took a video. I just recorded a clip of some of the space shuttle launches with the Challenger space shuttle, and you can actually see the rocket like ignite, and it moves the space shuttle up, and then it goes back down, and then it takes off. So
Yeah,
the
that
idea
happened.
that
Yeah.
this
So what?
can't, how yeah, how could the rocket go back down
Because
when
they
the
released the
thrust
clamps that were holding it
ignited?
in, and the support then let it sag a little before it completely took off. There's no issue there. But we're
You
talking about
mean
Artemis here,
sag.
for instance, and you said that you don't think that the rockets make that amount of power. Can I see your calculation on the fuel combustion efficiency and everything to determine that it wouldn't create the correct amount of power to put the rockets in space? Thank you very much for getting that goal, guys. You heard it here. The QOP will, in fact, send you all a weed cookie. That was a legally binding contract. You're going to need their addresses, dude.
They gotta hit me up on YouTube after they subscribe to my channel.
What kind of weed you putting in?
Um, I don't have weed actually.
Bah, you promised weed cookies. Don't do a David Weiss on us.
Yeah, I was kind of joking. Yeah, what were we talking about? The so yeah, I don't believe rocket propulsion can work in a vacuum.
Why not?
I don't believe yeah, that's the main problem,
Why
right?
can't
Like
rockets
if
work in a
everything
vacuum?
if the entire globe model was real and there was space and everything, um I don't believe that you could get rocket propulsion in a vacuum. You would need a different method, like a
Why
UFO or
why
something to
can't
get out of.
rockets work in a vacuum?
Um so the vacuum evacuates and equalizes, pressure immediately in all directions, so you can't control a thrust in one direction to push yourself in an opposite
Unless you
direction.
have a one hole, which you do. So imagine the combustion chamber as a ball, right? Inside, that a hollow ball, okay? And inside that hollow ball, you ignite the gases and they explode and expand in all directions, right? And that means they create a pressure on the inside of this ball. Then you put one hole in that ball. That's the only place that the pressure can escape. That means that the force is no longer on that hole. It's acting on the bit where there's not a hole. Whereas that's the equal and opposite reaction. So the gas goes out of the hole, yet there's still here that the explosion is pushing against. So there's only one way for the rocket to be pushed.
Yeah, I just don't
The
think.
rocket equation disproves what you're saying. Did you know, for instance, that jet planes are more efficient, jet engines are more efficient in a lower pressure? The less pressure there is, the less medium, the more efficient a jet engine is.
Well, I think they're being charged more in higher altitudes, so they can take advantage of that charge
Charged more? What do you
and
mean
cause
charged
more.
more?
Well, like the ionosphere is super ionized.
That doesn't mean it could charge things.
If you're traveling through it
Wait,
extremely.
you think jet planes travel through the ionosphere?
No, but as you go up, you get 100 volts per meter
But
increase.
that disappears after
Charge.
about 4 kilometers, though. That stops being a thing after about 4 kilometers, and jet planes travel
So
a
you
lot
got.
higher than 4 kilometers. Did you not know that that 100
Yeah,
volts per meter stops being a thing after like 4K? It's just
and then how
it
is the
isn't there anymore
ionosphere ionized if it stops being a thing?
because it's ionized because of particles from the sun, not from the ground.
But it's still more charged than below it, correct?
Well, but that's nothing to do with a jet plane. A jet plane doesn't go into the ionosphere. A jet
Okay,
plane
you're
is
saying
nowhere
there's
near
like
the
a.
ionosphere, and a jet plane is nowhere near the 4K that 100 volt per meter disappears at. All your ideas are just hodgepodges of Witsit's talking points without any of the, word salad competence, really.
So you're saying between 4 kilometers and the ionosphere, there's no charge?
There's no charge that increases 100 volts per meter.
So it just stays the same?
It changes weirdly. There's lots of different things going on, but there's not that increase every 100 meters as you go up. That stops being a thing, which destroys that being any reason for the downward bias, because you still accelerate at the same rate downwards and you're above that. Also, when you're in the ionosphere, you still fall the same amount, the same acceleration.
I never said gravity requires the voltage gradient.
Well, I was waiting for you to come up with that. You said everything else.
No, I think the ether permeates everything, so it doesn't like the voltage gradient is just a phenomenon caused by the ether.
They've shown that the ether isn't a thing because it doesn't match predictions. Again, to quote Richard Feynman, if it doesn't match experimentation, it's wrong. Ether didn't match experimentation, therefore it's wrong.
But the two assumptions were that the globe was moving through the ether, so it's not that the ether itself didn't match predictions, that both of those things were in relationship to each other, didn't match predictions.
Except they literally said in the paper, though the Earth is orbiting the sun.
And that the ether exists, yeah. Both of those things, I agree.
Well, no, the result went against the ether existing, and they said in the paper that we didn't find the fringe shift expected for the ether to exist, yet the Earth orbits the sun.
Where do I read that?
That's in the paper.
Where is that sentence?
That's the point of the experiment. If the ether existed, they would have found the fringe shift. They didn't find the fringe shift, yet the Earth still orbits the sun.
But you said that the ether stops existing if the fringe shift isn't as
because that was the point of the experiment. We went through that. Stop doing the Flerf reset. Right, you have given me no evidence. Hold on. You have given me no evidence that the Earth is flat or stationary. None at all. Nothing that I can look at. You just said a few things. You said every. All right, I'm going to go with every scientist in the world who understands maths and physics over you. And then I'm going to go with every surveyor in the world who understands their profession over you. You don't understand any of these things. You didn't even understand what the Fresnel effect was. You got it wrong. You don't understand it's only a boundary thing. You think it just happens in the air between 1 and 2 points. No, that's not how any of that works. You have not come with any evidence that the Earth is flat. Nothing at all. You just spouted a bunch of Witsit's talking points, but got a lot of them wrong, even for Witsit. Like, I don't understand how you can hate Witsit so much, yet literally use his words, verbatim. Well, not in verbatim. You got them wrong even for the things that he's saying. It's incredible. Nothing that you said holds up to any kind of scrutiny.
This is called grandstanding, when you just basically assert things and posture that you're kind of winning. And
I'm not baselessly asserting. I've pointed out why you're wrong. There's no baseless assertions here. I've given you the maths and the physics and the experiments that show that you are wrong. It's not grandstanding to point out why you are wrong and why nothing you've said has made any sense at all. Don't do the Witsit thing and start bringing out fallacies, because I could have been doing that the whole time. Okay?
This is just a grandstanding non sequitur. It's just like
stop doing the Witsit thing. I don't care if you think it's grandstanding. It is pointing out what has happened here. You have brought no evidence. You have brought no maths. You have brought no models. You have brought no predictions. You've said words wrong over and over and over. Even when I've told you how you're saying the word wrong, you've still doubled down even more. You have not brought anything for me to debate against. You brought no evidence at all. You misunderstood a bunch of physics, and that was it. That was your entire thing. Misunderstanding physics.
As far as like you saying that the paper, Michelson-Morley paper somewhere says that the ether was found to not exist. Where is that?
That's in the results. It's not written down. That's in the results. No fringe shift means no. The prediction, again, we've been through this. I'm not going to go through it again. In the paper, the prediction was that if the ether exists, we will get this fringe shift. But they didn't get the fringe shift. Yet the Earth. They didn't get the fringe shift. Yet they literally said in the paper, the Earth still orbits the sun. So no fringe shift. Yet Earth orbits the sun means no ether. If reading comprehension isn't one of your skills, then that's fine.
Well, maybe I think your viewers should read the paper and
my viewers have read the paper extensively.
Okay. Then they will know that you're wrong.
Oh, well, no, they will. Right. Do you want me to do a vote and see who's right and who's wrong?
Lots of people are going to vote without having read the paper.
Okay. Well, if you If you have read the MMX, who is right? Me. Flerf.
I mean, I'm asking you, like, you changed, you went from saying that this does say this in the paper, and now it says it in the data. So it's your interpretation
that's where
of the
I
data
get it from.
based on your data.
No, the data shows that they did not get the fringe shift they would have expected if there was an aether. Yet they still say in the paper that they were orbiting the sun.
Okay, we're going in circles, but
yeah, exactly.
You're just asserting your conclusion. You're not actually pointing to anything in the paper.
No, I'm going with the data against the prediction. You're the one that's going in circles by ignoring it and still using words incorrectly.
So I grant that they believe the Earth's moving and that it's a ball and that the ether exists. That's not.
Yet they didn't get the results they would have expected if the ether existed.
The experiment itself had a prediction for how the fringe shift pattern would look.
We're not going to go back through it. We've already been through this. We don't need to go through it again. Right, stop. I'm stopping you. We don't need to go back through it. We've done this conversation. We've done this conversation already. I've already explained to you why you're wrong. I don't care if you disagree. Everyone that's ever read the paper knows that you are wrong and I am right.
I mean, most of the world is globers that believe in germ theory, so.
Germ theory is definitely a thing.
Well, that's a long subject.
Yeah, one that you probably know nothing about as well. So I just want to be clear that you've brought absolutely no evidence at all. Like, not even a little bit.
Thank you. I disagree.
Well, you didn't. You didn't bring any measurements. You didn't bring any experiments. You just said this experiment and then been wrong about it. And you've been so wrong that you keep even getting words wrong, like post-diction. It's incredible that you think a post-diction can talk about the future.
I said post-diction can be predictive. Like the post-dictive model.
A post-diction cannot be predictive. A post-diction is not anything that can be predictive. You can use a model to make both a post-diction and a prediction. A post-diction cannot be predictive because a post-diction is an explanation about a prior event. That cannot be predictive because it's talking about a prior event.
That explanation can predict future events.
No, the explanation can't predict future events. The model that made the post-diction can predict future events. Predictions and you cannot make a prediction with a post-diction. That's not how that works. You're using that word wrong. I'm trying to be nice to you here, but you keep saying the same things that are wrong over and over and over. And I've tried to explain to you why you're so wrong about just a simple fucking word. Rib check for $2 says the only thing flat is Homeboy's hat. Yeah, why this? Why doing that? You know that damages the seam, right? It's bad for the cap.
That's how the seam is already set up.
So it's designed. What? You can't put it down like that, like a baseball cap should be.
No, it's not a baseball cap.
It is a baseball cap. A cap with a peak like this is a baseball cap. That's what it is.
Well, it's not like it doesn't curve like the globe.
Well, the globe curves, the measurements and the things from Space Show. Golden Skeptic for £2 says, so this guy realised he can make money from idiots? No, I don't think he's made much money off of the idiots yet. They seem to be ignoring him for some reason. But guys, if you go and subscribe to his channel, a lot more flat earthers will also see it, and that means he'll make videos for us to debunk. Real Kiffy Jones for $2 says, have you heard of Mike Oxwell's? No? Have you heard of Mike Oxwell's?
No.
Yeah. Mike Oxwell's. Mike Oxwell's? Anyone? Mike Oxwell's?
Oh, Mike Oxwell's?
No, apparently so. Icy Spin for $1.99 says, long sleeve sweater. Cut sleeves are trending, bro. I don't know why they're commenting on your fashion choices here. You look fly.
I usually wear a sleeveless shirt, but it's cold right now.
Alison Aviation, $2. All of international navigation uses the globe, and he's a pilot that flies private jets, and he uses the globe to navigate. Strange that.
Yeah,
right?
I think the northern hemisphere and parts of the southern hemisphere work pretty good with the
all of the southern hemisphere
GPS.
work perfectly. The Mojek
We can't
199
check
says,
that
so
out.
another reality diet denier but uses GPS. Do you use GPS?
Well, GPS doesn't use the giant Google Earth ball to get me around. It just uses like a small local grid.
It uses the globe. Nairobi for €2 says, sometimes we just want to watch the world turn. Conspiracy Music Studios has been a member for 14 months, says, Q-Op is a lost guy with a main character syndrome. That's not very nice. He's a lot nicer than most Flerfs. At least I've been able to have a conversation with him. Got a little frustrating with the Flerf reset, but he hasn't screamed and shouted like, a lot of Flerfs do. The Mojek 199 says, QOP, quickly off point, and he doesn't seem to know. Please go and learn what a post-diction is, because you're using that word so wrong, my friend. Draco Fire 3000 for $5 says, go ahead and take some post-workout before your workout. It'll work, trust. They already understand what you need. Oh, I need my pre. I've not got a caffeine addiction, I swear to God. I don't need my coffee and then my pre before the gym, honestly. The Turtle moves for £5. So the person who claims to be anti-Witsit has Witsit as his Papa Flerf. Right. Yeah, it does seem all your arguments were just Witsit's arguments. You need to, Witsit's dumb as fuck. Anything that Witsit has said is just wrong.
Are you aware that Witsit got so I would say, like, if you actually want to claim what flat earther came up with these arguments, it was Bob Nodell. So like Bob, before he died, he gave Witsit his computer, and Witsit was given globe busters, and he was basically trained with all this information. So Witsit didn't come up with it; he just memorized it. I didn't come up with it; I memorized, some of it, and I'm, figuring out other things, my own arguments. But I don't think Bob also came up with these things. I think this is all come from understanding that they're trying to control op.
And you're basically a Witsit puppet at this point, dude. Mr. Eman Original for $5 Australian says, can you ask Q-Op if the photos I've just sent you are real? Let's have a look at the photos you've sent me. Please don't be the nudes like last time. No, I'm joking. Right, is this photo real?
What?
Is the photo I'm showing you real?
Of what is that?
It's of a radar dish.
I mean, AI could have made it, but I don't know why you ask. I don't know if it's real. It could be. It looks real.
Is that real?
They look real.
Is that real?
It looks real.
Okay.
What's?
He wanted to know that. So there you go. Yes, they are real. Draco Fire 3000, my gym inspiration, says for $5, this post-Dixon shit is the classic Flerf trope of, I learned this word 4 minutes ago, time to use it in every sentence. Yeah, dude, please trust me. Please, you're using that word wrong. Okay? Stop using post-Diction because you're using it wrong. Alison Aviation for $2 Australian
How
says,
could I be using it wrong? It just means something you say diction after the fact post. Like there's
yeah,
nothing.
But then you're saying you
really
can use it to make predictions.
Why I'm using it. I believe that these all this physics was already pre-understood, and Einstein just made a post-dictive different model to explain it.
But that a model is something that makes predictions, not. And you can use it to also make post-dictions, but a post-diction is not a prediction. They're different things. As soon as you talk about the future, even if a post-diction is a thing, it's now a prediction. You're using the word fundamentally incorrect. Alison Aviation for $2 says, I predict he will never bring flat earth evidence. You are fucking correct. Abrax, who's been a member for 5 months, says, I predict no flat earther will ever show evidence. It's definitely going that way. Henrobi for €5, the orbital motion of Earth was already known due to stellar aberration, but to explain aberration, the aether, if it exists, would need to be at rest. Yeah, that's basically the conclusion of the Merckx and Morley experiment as well, as they say in the paper. Alison Aviation for $2 says, I hate Witsit, so I use all his arguments one-to-one. Anna Handel, €5. Q-Op, question for Q-Op. How do you decide if a statement, new to you, not flat earth, is true? What is your process, and how do you later test this decision / change your mind?
My epistemology, it's kind of, I just, logically consider things, and I do tests if I can. I look around at the world, see if they match what I see.
Maybe logic means something different to you than the rest of us. I'm not sure. Pope Russian for $4.99. No Flerf has ever answered this. What is over the horizon radar Why is a radar horizon even necessary? If we are on a flat plane, why even use ionospheric reflection?
So a lot of random questions.
Okay, what is over the horizon radar? And why is it necessary?
Well, you guys claim it's going over the physical horizon of the globe.
Yeah, but what are you saying is over the horizon, of the radar horizon?
What am I saying? I don't have a model exactly.
Why is a radar horizon a thing?
Radio wave propagation is not my expertise, really.
Yeah, you should probably look into radar horizons. They kill the flat Earth. Rachbot for $5 Australian. My lord, I don't mind keeping Rubiks captive. They are needed. But could you feed them, please? We need optimal performance. I gave them some, like, cut-offs of my peppers and stuff earlier. I had a tray bake for dinner, and there was, like, some ends of some carrots. There was, like, some mushrooms. There was, like, some courgette that was a bit mushy. They got some actual nutrients. They can't keep complaining. Q-Up, what do you do to keep your captives happy? Because it's, like, a lot of hassle, frankly.
My what?
The people in your basement, how do you stop them whining?
I don't have a basement.
Well, where do you keep your captives?
I don't have any.
What do you mean? So what do you do with the people that you kidnap?
It's a weird question.
I mean, I don't understand. I mean, when you kidnap someone, you've got to put them somewhere. What do you do with them?
I don't know how to answer that. Like,
Have you got an attic? Are they got you got to put them upstairs or something? Is this like a side room, a kennel outside or something? Where do you chain them up and force them to do your bidding?
I don't even have pets.
Huh. Time 42 for $5. Witless has said all this already and been shown how he is wrong, and he has no explanation for anything. You're boring. Oh, well, that's just an insult. Buck Soldier for $5. Q-Op, despite this debate, you're still the undisputed #1 flat earther. How do you feel about
that? I agree. I'm kind of new, so it's going to take me a little while to
learn what words mean,
figure everything out. But
Alison Aviation, $5. Odd how he doesn't want to bring positive evidence for a flat Earth. Just talk about his willful ignorance. Seems like my prediction was right. Yeah, it's a good prediction, not post-diction you made there. Mr. E-Man Original, $5. Q-Op could just Google observational evidence for gravitational time dilation and see the numerous experiments come up. You don't believe in experiments, the Globies do, so have you ever looked into time dilation experiments, Q-Op?
So I have no problem with the experiments. The conclusions is what I disagree with, and they're not actually testing the cause of their theories. They're just asserting that the model is predictive, and this is what it predicts. So
that's how you do experiments. Yeah, you test predictions. You make a prediction, then you test that prediction.
No, you actually have to manipulate the independent variables so you can actually test that it's the cause.
They do. They always manipulate the independent variables. You just don't understand what independent variables are. They do. You just don't understand what independent variables are. Draco Fire 3000 for $5. I've concluded that the fundamental issue with Flerfism is not understanding the concept of conditional truth. I thoroughly agree. The Turtle Moves for $5. These words, I do not think they mean what you think they mean. Have you ever seen Princess Bride?
No.
Q-Op, you've not watched Princess Bride? Go and watch Princess Bride. The Mojek, $1.99. No cookies on Flat Earth. No, Q-Op is going to send you a cookie, guys, if you go and subscribe to his channel. He promised. Odin's Rage, $5 Canadian. Arc Raiders may have finally adjusted their algorithm properly. I've come across nothing but absolute legends all day. Still not played Arc Raiders. Satisfactory takes up all my gaming time. Although Super Meat Boy 3D is creeping in there, I guess. You ever played Satisfactory, Q-Op?
No.
Do you like factory building games?
No.
Why not?
Sounds pretty boring.
What do you mean? You have to use maths and make machines that have ratios of things coming in to make the right amount of stuff to then take that stuff and make other things. It's like the most addictive video games in the world. The Mojek 199 says QOP brings the evidence. I like it. Inquisitive Infidel $2. If I can't test it, it's not tested correctly. What experiments have you ever actually done, QOP?
I'm gonna set up an interferometry test and a double slit experiment, hopefully at the same time. I got a bunch of ferro cells. I'm gonna do some things with magnets and stuff.
What is the double slit experiment testing for?
It's not really testing for anything. It's just trying to understand how light works.
It's not testing for anything.
Well, it's the way you guys do it, it's not testing anything.
It's not testing for anything.
Well, it's just an observation. You guys are just observing light and claiming that, claiming a theory for what's happening. You're not actually testing your mechanism for causing the wave pattern to turn into like a particle.
Okay, so you don't understand what it's testing for. Okay, that's cool. No worries. Real Kit Jiffy Cones for $2 says, let's get that goal. What's the goal again? QOP's going to send you a cookie, he promised. Inquisitive Infidel, $5. QOP, what's your standard for evidence you'll accept? If it needs to be something you'll only accept if it's done in front of you, then why debate?
It's kind of I don't really want to answer that. It's not really a question.
Well, it was definitely a question. Do you not understand how questions work?
It's like a rhetorical question.
Stoops the Cat, who is a flat earther for $10, says, in regard to Eratosthenes' observations, so did multiple people log data from different points and then travel to me up later to compare results, genuinely asking how to do it. Eratosthenes was just two positions with getting the shadows, but more modern versions have been done with thousands of participants. The Turtle Moves for £2 says, no cookies, send Daniel Pratt around. Yeah, if you don't send everyone cookies, I'm sending Daniel Pratt to your house, QOP. And I know where you live. Whale Panties 199 says Earth's radius is approximately 1,044,591 great white sharks. The question everyone's been asking, QOP, is what is your favorite shark?
I don't have a favorite shark. I don't like sharks.
You got to have a favorite one, surely. Hammerhead, spinning shark, great white. Come on.
Not really.
Hammerheads are pretty cool. Danny Turner for £2 says, Craig, did you send this guy enough copium? Look, I am not responsible for people getting their copium supply. I've just bought stocks in it. I'm now rich. Rachbot for $5 Australian. Thank you. Oh, I'm not even showing. I was showing the wrong thing. My bad. Matt Hooks, who's been a member for... Oh, God, where'd that go? Who's been a member for 46 months. Thank you very much. Believe all the pilots who use the globe-based maths to navigate over thousands of miles. Yeah, me too. I 100% believe them. Professor Philip Bell for $2 says, QOP, will you come back and debate me? An actual physics professor who has specialties in knowing about the Michelson-Morley experiment.
Yeah, I'll debate anybody.
Cool. I'll set that up for you. Stoops the Cat for $5 says, cats know it's flats. Well, if the Earth was flat, cats would have knocked everything off it by now, so cats debunk the flat Earth. Riley Lewson for $5. Has anyone ever told QOP that they've got the personality of a houseplant? Total Gen X burnout, and still he has more personality than flat Earth evidence. That's not very nice. You need to be a bit more lively, QOP. You need to get some fun in you. Mr. E-Man Original for $10 says, the two dishes were communicating with Artemis 2 at the time. They are talking to Artemis 2, right, 43 and 34 now. Artemis 2 is not fake. Yeah. You know that you could have tracked Artemis 2 with your on your own if you spent like $50 on a bit of radio equipment or something. Why didn't you go down and watch Artemis 2 launch?
I watched it live.
But you could have been there and actually watched it.
I don't not believe that they launched something. I think it's just like an airship that's vertically set up.
Time 42 for $2 says, so no evidence will be accepted except flat Earth. Got it. Right, QOP, it's been 2 hours and 15 minutes of you not giving me evidence, so do you want to just give some final thoughts? Sorry if I got interrupted at all. I was getting frustrated with the non-answers. But it's been a pretty decent conversation, you and I. I haven't got angry with you. I haven't got nasty at you. I haven't shouted at you. We've both kind of interrupted and over-talked a little bit, but that's conversation sometimes. But I think in general it was a pretty civil conversation, right?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Cool. I will arrange a debate between you and Professor Philip Bell. In fact, I'll make a group on Facebook. Make sure you've accepted me as a friend on Facebook, on Discord, sorry. And I'll put you and Philip Bell in a group together on Discord so you can arrange when you want me to host a debate between the two of you. Okay?
Okay, cool.
All right, well, thank you very much for tonight, Q-Op. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, not really. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Dude, guys, go and subscribe to Q-Op's channel. I'm sure you get some derp there. And I'll speak to you soon, Q-Op. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
the debate. Jesus Christ, that guy was like talking to a houseplant. But, we're not one of the exciting houseplants. More like, a succulent or something. It's just kind of boring. Guys, thank you very much for watching. That was something. Before I go, though, I do need to ask everyone a very important question. I was going to go into Q-Op's server, but he's actually turned the server off, so I can't go in and ask them about Artemis 2. So I'm going to try and find a new Flat Earth server to do that, for the Super Chat goal the other day. But before I go, I just want to ask a question. Can we just pretend, like a little bit, that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars?
Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? Should be wishing for a brain right now, brain right now, brain right now.
Good morning. These words come with a storm warning. Better batten down the hatches, grab some matches and brace yourself for a long day of misery. YouTube has given me the power to reach up into the sky and show you all that we live on the ball. I bring you science that's comprehensible. Your view is indefensible. You're reprehensible.
Go on, Mr. Sensible.
When I was young, I never thought I would be here to see this. A pile of random nonsense dressed up as bullshit. Your ignorance will be the death of us all, like running head first full speed into a wall. You could always read a book, buy a telescope, set it up and take a photo of the moon, or just be a buffoon. I send you in a balloon up to the stratosphere in page 3.
You're a few fries short of a happy meal. You're dumber than a box of hair. The wheel's spinning but the hamster's dead, and you're as smart as bait. You forgot to pay your brain bill. You're missing a few buttons on the remote control. 24 cents short of a quarter. You're surfing in Nebraska. You're as bright as Alaska in December, and you fell out of your family tree. You don't have all the cornflakes in one box. You got an IQ of 2 and it takes 3 to grunt. The elevator doesn't go all the way up, and there's a vacancy on the top floor. Your antenna doesn't pick up all the channels. You're several nuts short of a
You're Mr.
fruitcake.
Sensible, calm down, don't go too hard. You don't need to ask Liberian Flerfs in your backyard. You're a man of science, poise and grace. Mage 2 did everything to wipe the grins off the face. So Nathan, get away from those kids. The world is not flat and it doesn't have a lip. Recognize the differences between the textbook and the Bible and control yourself. Lay off your slander and your lies. You're a bunch of knobs poisoning the well of the youth, spreading lies that you like to claim as knowledge and truth. Stop spreading fresh bullshit like the butter on your bread. Maybe a musical assault will knock some sense into your head. I hope one day you'll hear these lyrics and smile, and you realise you used to be a 40-year-old child. Now it's time to wake up, open your eyes and see, and acknowledge the existence of.
You're a few clowns short of a circus. Your phone is off the hook. Your sewing machine is out of thread. You're all foam and no beer. You don't have all your dogs on one leash. An intellect rivaled only by garden tools. There's no grain in your silo, and your skylight leaks a little. Your belt doesn't go through all the loops. You couldn't pour water out of the boot without instructions on the heel. Your slinky's kinked, and you're proof that evolution can work in reverse. A few feathers short of a whole duck, one fruit
Can we
loop short of
pretend
a
that
full bowl.
airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? Should be wishing for a brain right now, brain right now, brain right now. Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? Should be wishing for a brain right now, brain right now, brain right now.
You thought it was over? Well, I'm still standing while you're swinging, flinging feces, talking shit just like the human centipede. You got the mind of a chimp, and I'm here to expedite your shore leave. Cause I'm a seaman, but not the kind I ripped up on your mom's gums. I'm the kind that sailed submarines and fired guns. I could float a boat across the ocean with my eyes closed, circumnavigate the globe with a compass and a bag of sausage rolls. Well, all you can do is nibble on your toes. I'll smack you with the hose that you call the water level. Sit and swivel, you nasal gazing muppet. You can stuff it harder than the wallet stuffed by Warren Buffett. And I don't care about your sauces unless you're serving them, and I don't care about your lines unless you're curving them. Now step away from me, you're sucking up my oxygen with the vacuum where your brain should be, you dumb fuck.
Thank you everyone for watching. I will see you back on Tuesday. Remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth.